Welcome to Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. Tonight from PNC Park here in Pittsburgh, one of the nicest ballparks in baseball. We've got the Mets and the Pirates in the rubber match of a three-game series. The Mets taking the opening game on Friday night. The Pirates coming back with an extra innings win last night to even up the series at a win apiece. On Friday night, it was a homecoming for Pittsburgh native and former Pirate Neil Walker, who hit not one but two home runs. Jacob deGrom had himself quite a night. 10 strikeouts through 8 in the third, and the Mets with a relatively easy 8-1 win. Different story last night. Mets took a lead as they got out early, hit 3 home runs early in the game, led 4-2. Going to the 9th, up 4-3. John Jaso with an RBI single to tie it. And then in the 10th, Jaso does it again. The game-winning hit, and the Pirates come back and win it in 10 by a score of 5-4. A look at the standings finds both teams under 500 right now. The Mets are 7 games under, 9 games back. The Pirates 4 games under and just 4 games back in a very tightly bunched Nationally Central Division. Welcome to another installment of Sunday from the Seats here on ESPN, as they have planted us out of our booth somewhere in the ballpark. Where do they decide to put us here at PNC Park? Well, when you think Pirates, one of the first things you think about is Roberto Clemente, the Clemente wall out in right field, of course 21 feet high above the playing surface. And here we are. Here we are. Where are they shooting us from? I don't know where we're supposed to look right now. Right here? There we go. Dan Shulman, Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone. Turned into a nice night. Threats of thunderstorms maybe coming later, but we hope a lot later. Let's talk Pirates off the top. The face of the franchise has been Andrew McCutchen, former MVP. The numbers have been going down, more so this year even than last. Did he break out last night with a home run and a double?
Well, Dan, he did show that he still can be a huge impact on this offense with that home run and the double last night. And the biggest difference with Andrew McCutchen is how he attacks inside fastballs. This was the home run last night, an inside pitch. Fastball, this is a pitch that he has struggled with. And you look at the numbers compared to his big season 2013 when he was an MVP. He had numbers of 429 against that pitch, 167 this season, and that has been the difference. When he's able to attack that pitch, he's going to have success and still make a huge impact in this lineup.
So the Pirates looking for more from their star, who's fallen on tough times recently. You could say the same for the Mets, Mooney, about Matt Harvey. At one point, one of the best starting pitchers in baseball. Physical issues, off the field issues, didn't show up, got suspended earlier this season. What do you see in him?
Yeah, well, let's start. When Matt Harvey was at his best, the electricity of his stuff kind of leaps off the screen. But what always struck me about him was the simplicity of his delivery and his ability to repeat it at all times. Since the injuries have set in and some of the problems, he cannot consistently repeat his delivery right now. His release point is off, and that in turn is affecting his command. And when you watch him pitch right now, there's not that same Dark Knight swagger. There's not that confidence. He needs to get that back, not only for the success of this team, but for him to kind of turn the page on where he's at right now.
And of course, the foundation of this Mets team is supposed to be the starting rotation. For more on that and on Matt Harvey, let's go to Buster.
Dan, the Mets have no idea when Noah Syndergaard's going to come back, and they have no idea how much Steven Matz is going to help when he comes back. And all that uncertainty absolutely raises the stakes for Matt Harvey every time he pitches. They need him to get back that mound arrogance. They need him to lead them back into the playoff conversation. And for Matt Harvey, every outing, every inning is a chance to move forward, to get closer to what he once was. Dan?
Buster, thank you. Here at PNC Park, we're in play. We're in the first row down the right field line above the Clemente wall. We may become a part of the game whether we like it or not, for better or for worse. Some fly balls may be coming our way. Baseball on ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's new Naked Chicken Chips. Back in Pittsburgh, along with Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone, Buster Olney, I'm Dan Schulman. Sunday Night Baseball between the Mets and the Pirates. We're up top, right above the wall there, just in fair territory. The Clemente wall down the right field line here in Pittsburgh. Time now to take a look at the starting lineup for the New York Mets, presented by Taco Bell.
Dan, it's been about the big lefties. Jay Bruce in that 3-hole, 12 home runs, 32 RBIs, leading the team in power. And you go down to Lucas Duda. The last 5 games, he has been red hot. 9 for 18, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. He's hoping to continue that against Glasnow.
Right-hander Tyler Glasnow, just mentioned, is on the mound tonight for the Pirates. 23 years of age, second year in the big leagues, 6'8". And a guy who had extraordinary minor league numbers, trying to take the next step and develop some consistency at the major league level. Coming off a good start his last time out against Atlanta Tuesday, gave up just 2 earned runs in 6 innings, got 11 ground ball outs, but as you can see from the elevated numbers, 6.69 ERA. More is expected, and Clint Hurdle told us before the game at times he can command all his pitches, and when he does, he can be a very effective pitcher. Curtis Granderson leads it off, hitting just 178 on the season, but hitting over 300 his last 11 games. Generally, Michael Conforto was the leadoff hitter, at least recently for the Mets, but he gets the night off tonight. Terry Collins saying, maybe just a little bit fatigued. Has been playing every day, leading off on base all the time, so they're going to give him a day. He'll be back in there tomorrow afternoon. After Granderson, Jose Reyes, and then Jay Bruce. Terry Collins, who turned 68 yesterday, is the oldest active manager in the big leagues. Was hoping to celebrate with a win. For 8.5 innings, it looked pretty good. As Granderson chases that breaking ball in the dirt, and the throw down to first to complete the out, 1 down.
There's a good look at the stuff from Glasnow. We saw the fastball in the mid-90s there, and then on that 2-2 pitch, that's the breaking ball that he looks to generate swings and misses with, and you see the big bite and in the dirt, and Granderson way out in front. A good start for Glasnow tonight. See Granderson just seeing that as fastball after Glasnow was able to establish that, and just well out in front of that overhand curveball from the 6'8" Glasnow.
Who hails from Newhall, California, as he starts Jose Reyes with a pitch up and away for ball 1. Jeff Nelson, who's also the crew chief, is the home plate umpire tonight. Reyes hitting .207 on the season, but like Granderson, a guy with overall poor numbers, but hitting better lately, as you see over 300 his last 8 games. He played some shortstop when Asdrubal Cabrera was on the DL. Now he's back at third base. Defense has been suspect for Reyes. Cabrera just back off the DL a few days ago, had a thumb injury. You can't go 30 seconds talking about the Mets without talking about injuries, and it seems like it's been that way for a few years, as Met fans all know. That one winding up foul about 30 feet to our left.
I realize we don't have gloves out here.
There's no point me having one. You guys got to handle it.
I mean, Blue and I are going to fight over it.
Right here.
You going to barehand it?
Oh yeah.
All right.
We're getting to that kind of twilight time soon. We're going to have issues soon.
Nah, we'll be all right.
We'll be all right.
Yeah. You guys know Jay Bruce. Just bring out a couple.
That's not a bad idea. I have to talk to Bruce or Polanco and see if somebody can bring some gloves out.
We got action. Here you go. Lefty.
This one's never been worn though.
So here we go. Here we go.
So stiff.
Excuses
it's so
already.
stiff.
I get a first base.
Reyes chases the ball down low. Back-to-back strikeouts for Glasnow.
I'm playing
ready
first
to go.
base apparently.
Yeah.
I'm bringing mine next week.
Yep.
My little corner store glove that you guys make fun of every time you see.
I will.
Yeah.
I will fight you for a ball. Like
I'm
you
bringing,
joked in the cartoon.
I'm bringing mine.
How about I call the game? You guys catch the fly balls.
All right. I'm in on that.
All right. 2 down and back-to-back strikeouts for Glasnow, when the batter is Jay Bruce, certainly capable of reaching the seats where we are. Left-handed batter, lots of power, got a dozen home runs already on the season, including one last night. First full year with the Mets after coming over in the deal at the trade deadline last year. Matt Harvey will be on the mound for the Mets tonight. And it has been a struggle for Harvey his last 5 times out. Only allowed 2 runs in 5 innings last time, but it was over 100 pitches to get through those 5 innings, and made some big pitches to minimize the damage, but it was not an easy outing by any stretch for Harvey. And with Noah Syndergaard on the DL, they need all the what was supposed to be the strength of the team. They need all the help they can get. The Mets ERA is up around 5, and both the rotation and the bullpen have almost identical ERAs. Everybody's to blame.
Yeah, the strength of this Met team counts on outstanding starting pitching. Obviously that has not happened, and that bullpen, which is just not set up to work as much as they have, has really struggled. DeGrom with one of the best starts of the season though for this club on Friday.
Just off the outside corner, a full count. You can see players on both teams wearing special caps. It is Memorial Day weekend. Yesterday, today, tonight, tomorrow, all players around Major League Baseball wearing caps, jerseys, socks. Proceeds will go to MLB charities that help out the families of veterans on this Memorial Day weekend. 3-2, fouled back by Bruce.
Last now up to 97 on that fastball. He's done a good job of establishing that pitch so far here in the first inning. Also planning, especially in the left-handed hitter's head, that curveball is a pitch to be reckoned with as well.
Three-two again. And Bruce hits it hard to right center field. It's down and off the wall on a bounce. Polanco spins and fires back to the infield, but not before Bruce glides into second with a double. And as was the case last night, we can hear evidence of a lot of Met fans here in Pittsburgh as they yell out Bruce as he hits that double.
You see the location that Cervelli wanted this pitch, more down in the zone. It's going to end up and out over the place, exactly where Jay Bruce has had success. We talked about how hot he's been, especially as of late, and you look at his swings even this weekend, and this is his cookie zone. Up, fastball in the zone, he drives it right center gap.
Jess, he went to school within that at bat on the velocity, taking note of the velocity. He fouled that pitch off a couple times, that time a ringing double.
Here's Neil Walker. As we showed you off the top of the show when we showed you the highlights from Friday night, Walker had himself a big Friday night. Second year with the Mets after spending his entire professional career with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Born in Pittsburgh, raised in Pittsburgh, signed by Pittsburgh, drafted and signed by Pittsburgh, and played with Pittsburgh for 7 years in the big leagues from 2009 through 2015.
And there's no question on Friday night when he hit those home runs, the smile was a little more meaningful. It felt, I think, a little sweeter for him to come back home, as there you see a old Pirate Walker jersey. It was a little bit sweeter to come and do it against his former club in a place that he's so fond of, obviously.
And they were so fond of him.
Yep.
Very popular player in his time here. 1-1 and a ground ball up the middle, but there is the shortstop Jody Mercer to make the play on Walker and retire the side. To the bottom of the first, no score. Matt Harvey heading to the mound for the Mets. Score here in Pittsburgh under some cloudy skies right now. Threat of rain much later on in the evening. Let's take a look at the Taco Bell starting lineup for the Pirates.
Well, for an offense that has struggled overall, somebody that has not and gained a lot of playing time is Adam Frazier at the top of this lineup. An average of 340, an OPS over 900 so far. And Josh Bell has really taken to that 3-hole, tied for first with NL rookies with those 9 home runs, 20 RBIs, and shown an ability to see pitches and to take a walk. A good-looking young player.
Matt Harvey is on the mound for the New York Mets tonight. You can see the 5.36 ERA and an ERA of almost 8 in his last 5 starts. He did start off the year well, but he does not resemble, not even close, the Matt Harvey that we all saw when he broke in a few years ago. As Adam Frazier leads it off for the Pirates. Harvey, of course, has undergone Tommy John surgery. Came back from that, won Comeback Player of the Year. Then had an off year last year, underwent surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome, a circulatory issue, had a rib removed, come back from that. Had the off the field issue this year where he didn't show up for work one day, the day before he was supposed to start, was suspended 3 days, had his start pushed back, apologized to his teammates and to the public. And at this point for the Mets, it's about, okay, go out and pitch, make baseball your #1 priority, which is what Terry Collins said publicly about Harvey in the wake of the suspension and the apology. He said they need Matt Harvey to make baseball #1, like it was for him when he came up. Frazier pops it into shallow center, and Juan Lagares is there, 1 down.
96 miles an hour on that fastball. Look, as much as they talk about the depleted stuff, the velocity numbers aren't down that much. And you see there, challenged the top of the strike zone with that fastball the entire at bat against Frazier and got lazy contact to get that first out.
There's Josh Harrison. He has settled very nicely into the 2 spot on a 9-game hitting streak, hitting .385 over those 9 games. He's at second base tonight. Frazier and Harrison last couple of weeks have been on base a ton, have really helped the Pirates, who overall are swinging the bats better than they were earlier in the year. Pirates 9-5 in their last 14 games. And a very versatile guy, of course, can play second, third. In past years played almost all over the diamond. But right now at second base, David Freese manning third base. No Jung Ho Kang, one of the key losses for the Pirates this year. He is still back in his native Korea after his 3rd DUI, unable to secure a work visa and come to the U.S. Nobody really has any idea if Kang is going to be back at all this year. And of course, they're also without one of their best players, great players, Starling Marte, 80-game PED suspension. So 2 serious losses, significant losses for the Pirates. As Harrison bounces 1 foul.
2 guys that have been great players. I mean, Starling Marte was, in a way, starting to move into becoming one of the faces of this franchise. And I'm not sure how many people know just how valuable Kang has been on this team, playing multiple infield positions and being that right-handed, real power presence in the middle of this lineup. Those are devastating hits to this club.
Harvey goes to the curveball, gets a pop-up, and Duda is there, 2 down.
Well, a good start here for Harvey after falling behind there 2-0 to Josh Harrison, something that's been a problem for him. When he's gotten behind 1-0 in the counts, players have slugged over 700 against him. 0-1, it's been a much better story, but the ability there on a 2-0 count to challenge the top of the zone, get the foul off, and then mix in a breaking ball there. Much better start to things so far tonight for Harvey.
Who's got some fans here at PNC Park. Josh Bell looks at a strike. Young first baseman, born in Irving, Texas. 2nd round pick by the Pirates. All right, now Harvey just going to the off-speed stuff a lot and with some success.
Back to back, goes inside with the breaking ball, away to the breaking ball. Watch him probably come hard.
Here's the 0-2, and it is a fastball at 96, fouled off.
And Dan, you got to think that's 81 twice.
Right.
And you recognize it's a breaking ball, but nothing can really prepare you for 50 miles an hour faster, especially when it's elevated at the zone, and that's what he's working off of.
And he hasn't thrown that curveball as much this year. It's been predominantly slider. A couple good curves here so far.
And they got to love his pace, guys.
Yep.
And he's getting back on the rubber, going at it.
So is it the confidence that breeds the success, or does he need to have success in order to get confident again?
I think when he irons out that release point and gets real consistent with that, the command follows that, and then I think the confidence follows once he has the command.
A very nice first inning for Matt Harvey. The Pirates go in order, and we're at the end of one at PNC Park. No score. Here in Pittsburgh, Dan Schulman, Jessica Mendoza, Aaron Boone. Sunday from the seats atop the Clemente Wall. Pretty nice spot.
It's cool.
It is. It is cool.
And
cool spot to watch a ball game.
And it really is nice out right
It turned
now.
out gorgeous.
Feels like June, July.
Perfect night.
And I know we say this every time we do a game in this ballpark, but it's such a nice ballpark. We have to say it again. It's a beautiful ballpark. It's one of the best ballparks in baseball.
Special.
Yeah. Lucas Duda leads off the second. Tyler Glasnow with the mound for the Pirates, and he punts in a 94-mile-an-hour fastball for strike one called. Behind us, we have the Allegheny River. And if you're sitting behind the plate or up in the upper deck, you can see out to the skyline of downtown. You can see the river every now and again. Not often, but every now and again, someone will hit one a country mile, and it'll wind up bouncing into the river. And Lucas Duda almost did that last night.
He got robbed.
He did get robbed by a fan.
Otherwise,
Yes.
it would have.
Yep. This was last night's game, a home run measured, I believe, at 447
Crushed.
feet. And bounces there, and a fan reaches up, and Lucas Duda's.
Look at that face.
Yeah.
I mean, he's into it, and Curtis Granderson is like, he's Instagramming that Lucas Duda face.
I mean, that's like a serious, like, crushed him.
That's right, dude. That ball's crushed. Face. He's a little sniffing at that ball, just seeing if it is gonna end up in the drink out there.
Almost did.
He's swinging really well right now.
This lineup's gotten a lot longer recently due to coming off the DL. Darno coming off the DL. Cabrera coming off the DL. They don't have Yoenis Cespedes. Had a setback yesterday. Was on the DL. Is on the DL with a hamstring issue, but then did not play in a rehab game in the minor leagues yesterday because of a quad situation. Some tightness or soreness in his quad. So he's set back at least a couple of days. As Duda grounds out.
It has a chance to be a really good offense here with the Mets.
Got a Memorial Day triple header for you on ESPN tomorrow, and it all starts at 1 o'clock Eastern time. The Yankees and the suddenly reeling Orioles, who have lost 7 in a row. The Nationals take on the Giants, and finally it's the Tigers and the Royals. All games streaming live on the ESPN app.
I really enjoyed spending some time with Tyler Glasnow yesterday, talking, getting to know a little bit about him, his family. So young, and you know, just even his stories. I mean, he's got tattoos, like crazy, silly tattoos. His mom, Donna, a huge influence in his life, gymnastics coach at Northridge.
Freeze up with it, 2 down.
And these aren't just any tattoos. I mean, guys get tattoos all the time, right? But how about your lip, right? It says "No Juice." Lil Boozy, you guys heard of him? That's "No Juice" is one of the songs, rap music, and that is ODB for those of you guys that are familiar with the Wu-Tang Clan. On the bottom of his foot, obviously worn out just a bit, but I mean, I don't think I've seen a lip tattoo before. Pretty interesting, but I mean, surfer, like so much to him, and we talk about his athleticism too. 6'8". His older brother Ted was an All-American decathlete at Notre Dame. He's going to train for the Olympics. So there's a lot of athletic blood between his mom, brother, and of course the tattoos.
Well, look, and that athleticism is critical, as we see there. I mean, that's been kind of the bugaboo at 6'8", and you know, still a young man. It's very difficult to succeed and to iron out your mechanics to get them in line to ultimately demonstrate command, which, if he can do that, that's ultimately what's going to allow him to be a top of the rotation type starter. The stuff, the size, all lends itself to being that. Can he repeat that delivery consistently enough to become an ace type pitcher?
Well, he's got the right pitching coach to help him do it in Ray Searage. I mean, if you're going to go #1, who's the best? And there's a lot of good ones, but take a young 23-year-old, a lot of moving parts. I feel like he's set up the best because of Searage.
Well, you think of a couple of great pitchers, one retired, one active, taller guys who took a long time. And granted, these other two guys I'm going to mention are lefties, but it took Andrew Miller a while to be able to repeat his mechanics and become the pitcher that he is.
Randy Johnson.
And Randy Johnson's the other one I was going to mention. Not to say that Tyler Glasnow is going to become either one of those two guys, but it took Randy Johnson a number of years before he led the league in walks, I think 3 years in a row before he really zeroed in on it.
Well, and he always talks about that. He said it just took him so long to really iron down his mechanics to where he could repeat it all the time.
Ground ball left side, another play for Freeze, and a good inning for Glasnow. 3 ground ball outs to get the Mets in order. so far for the Mets with issues, injuries, on the field issues, off the field issues. Noah Syndergaard doesn't want an MRI. A couple of days later, tears a lat muscle. He's out indefinitely. Matt Harvey with the suspension after not showing up for work a couple of weeks back. Juris Familia, blood clots in his shoulder, likely done for the season. Even Mr. Met knows, why does God hate the Mets? And I have a number of friends who are Met fans. You guys probably do as well. That's not an easy ride. Being a Met fan,
that's
listen,
just a life.
Yeah, they went to the World Series 2 years ago. We shouldn't forget that. They went to the playoffs last year. But it seems, again, with the injuries and sometimes just the dissemination of information and how serious are the injuries. Should they go on the DL?
It's
when
a
will
way.
they come
It's a
back?
way of
And
life.
It is.
But can we just say how hard the media is? Too? I mean,
Yes, that's
I mean,
fair.
all of
It's
those,
New York. Yeah.
That's not an easy task either.
Some pretty clever headlines, though.
Talking about Matt Harvey trying to get that confidence back. You open up the paper and you got it's not easy.
Polanco hits one a long way, center field, gone! Up into the berm, and the Pirates have a 1-0 lead.
Polanco has such a long, easy swing, and you see him be able to reach this pitch. It's away.
A little slider that just stayed up, Jess. He wants to get that down.
And he's able to just stay with it. And that long, pretty swing that Polanco so well and able to drive this ball out to center.
That is the 12th home run given up this season already by Matt Harvey. He only gave up 8 last year in 92 innings. He's given up 12 this year in 51 1/3. And you think back to his best year, he only gave up 7 in 178 innings as David Freese flies out.
And I feel like of all his pitches, Dan, that's been one. I mean, yeah, his fastball command can be not always there, but his slider, which was when he was going, I mean, that was the pitch. And it still can be dirty, but that was the pitch that I felt like time in and time, hitters were worried about that pitch. And now you can even see tonight going to the curveball more because of the misses on that pitch. He wanted it in the back foot of Polanco, and said he misses it away. That's a pitch that's been getting hit a lot more in his career.
Yeah, but when he was at his best, it didn't matter. I mean, his 4-pitch mix, sometimes the changeup was lights out. Sometimes it was the curve. Sometimes it was that slider. But it was the ability on any given night to use whatever he needed to be successful in a given night.
Andrew McCutchen, the batter, and a bouncer right back to the mound for an easy second out. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Applebee's new grill combos. We come to you from PNC Park in Pittsburgh, home of the Pirates. Rubber match of a 3-game series between these two teams, who oddly enough will meet again next weekend at Citi Field. Mets won Friday night, Pirates won last night, and on a Gregory Polanco home run, his third, the Pirates have a 1-0 lead here in the bottom of the second. Polanco, the cleanup hitter right now. Remember, Gong not here. Marte suspended. McCutchen dropped down to the 6th spot because he has been slumping most of the season. So Gregory Polanco has really stepped into a leading role for this Pirate team.
Well, and I think he's going to remain there. He got off to a little bit of a slow start this year, especially in the power department. But in talking with Clint Hurdle before the game, he really feels like this is a long-term, middle of the order, 3, 4, whatever you want to put him in, hitter. And I agree. I think sooner rather than later he's going to become a kind of top 10 player. We saw a piece of that power to straightaway center in that at bat.
Francisco Cervelli, the Pirates catcher, takes a strike over the outside corner. He didn't like it, thought it was outside, and the count is 2-1.
Isn't that same conversation we had about Glasnow? The same as Polanco, with the long arms and trying to figure out his swing.
There's no disputing the talent that resides within Gregory Polanco.
Yeah, and he's a do-it-all guy, too. He's an outstanding right fielder with a real nice throwing arm. He can run and steal bases.
Although hitting in the cleanup spot, Clint Hurdle says he doesn't want him to worry so much about stealing bases, even though he can. He wants him to hit for power, score runs, drive in runs, be a productive middle-of-the-order hitter, as Harvey issues the walk to Cervelli. And you can see a little bit, one of the telltale signs of frustration in a pitcher sometimes is if the way they snap their glove back when the return throw comes from the catcher. And you can see Harvey frustrated with his lack of command in that plate appearance with Cervelli.
And there's almost a look, and this is where the confidence issue, where we're kind of saying that confidence has gone away. There's just this kind of stare, like he's kind of befuddled, like because he can't consistently throw the ball where he wanted, which was never an issue for him. I mean, even that pitch, which according to ours caught K zone there, the inside, he misses with that fastball there across the plate and up. And routinely this year, we've seen him throw some good pitches, and then all of a sudden, he'll be wide with 3 fastballs. And there's like a confused look on his face, and I think it's just because he's not comfortable in his delivery, and it's led to very inconsistent release points.
Two down, a runner at first, a run in on the Polanco home run. The batter is Jordy Mercer, the Pirates shortstop. And he lines the ball to left field, but he hits it right at Granderson to end the inning. The Pirates, though, do get on the board. Gregory Polanco ripping one to straightaway center field, his 3rd home run of the season. And at the end of 2, it's the Pirates 1 and the Mets nothing. The New York Mets here in Pittsburgh. Michael Conforto not in the lineup tonight. Just sat down and talked with the young star of the Mets earlier today for this week's edition of Unlimited Baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile.
So you've had a lot of influences in your life. Your dad was a linebacker at Penn State, but your mom, Tracy, giving her some love. 1984, 2 Olympic gold medals. She was called the best synchronized swimmer in the world at the time. What has her influence and her background been on you?
My mom's always been such a great coach for me. You know, she's been a motivator. And obviously, I mean, I take pride in being, you know, the son of someone who was once the best in the world.
Well, even from a young age, you've had success. And I even think back to the Little League World Series, little Mikey Conforto, going Oppo, by the way, which you do now a ton of.
It's a throwback. This is unbelievable.
What was this like, this experience?
This was crazy, and you know, I got all my buddies who I haven't seen in years,
yeah,
on that team. That experience was crazy. I mean, I had such a blast there. It was one of the most fun experiences of my life. You know, really in baseball.
I even think about, you know, your major league career and how quickly you skyrocketed. Even go back to the 2015 World Series. You were only one of 5 rookies to homer twice in 1 game. I mean, this so young, so new, and unintimidated. What was this experience like for you?
You know, it's just baseball, and I quickly realized that. Man, that's a pretty cool moment.
Take
you know,
back.
it takes me back. You know, that was a blast. I mean, I think by far the most fun baseball experience in my life.
Oh, you're coming out of spring training. You're not even guaranteed a spot on the roster. What was that like for you?
It was a humbling experience. You know, I think I was kind of expecting that coming off the year that I had. And Terry was completely honest with me, telling me that, you know, I was going to have to earn everything that I got this year. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, it was interesting, too. We were looking at that Little League video of him going opposite field, and that's actually been the biggest key for him. When he didn't have a secure roster spot, like we mentioned, coming out of spring training, it was him getting back to that swing, and it's kind of cool to see him, like, under the age of 10, you know, being able to hit like that. But he got away from that when he struggled. He started pulling the ball a lot, and so it was kind of fun for him to even see that's me.
Look at those numbers. That's big-time production from Conforto.
Well, and maybe the silver lining in Cespedes getting hurt and missing some time, assuming he comes back and is Yoenis Cespedes here pretty soon, is it gave Conforto the opportunity to get at bats, and with that the success followed, and now when you get Cespedes back, he ain't coming out.
Lagares with a ground ball to short. So you would assume if Cespedes is back and healthy that it's Cespedes in left, Conforto in center, Bruce in right, that's your primary outfield. That might leave Granderson out of the mix to a certain extent. You've also got Lagares, very good defender and a guy who can get in there against lefties. But you're right, they got to play Conforto every day now.
Right, and look, a fourth outfielder is still going to get some opportunities, especially when you can move Bruce into first base from time to time. If Lucas Duda is struggling or something, you can give him a day off. That way you get Granderson into the lineup, you know, at least a few times a week, assuming everything's going well. But it has look, if they can get healthy, it has the look of, I think, a really strong offense.
There aren't many things where you can look at the Mets this year and say, hey, that's gone right. That's gone really well. The Conforto situation, him getting a chance to play hitting lefties, which he didn't do last year. That's a big key, right?
The biggest thing is that he's hitting lefties, because I think at best they were looking at him to be a platoon guy. And I mean, not only is he hitting them, but I mean, he is hitting them very well, and that's a lot of his power. Which, I mean, you look back, and I remember seeing him at Oregon State, like watching what he was about. And it's interesting when guys have success early, they get caught up, I think, sometimes in those initial swings.
Beavers, by the way, #1, right?
Yeah,
number one in the nation right now.
And that's postseason's going to start.
Yeah. But you know what? Jacoby Ellsbury knows that.
Conforto.
Darwin Barney knows that. Matt Boyd knows that.
Look at you knowing your Beavers.
Down low to Harvey, 3 balls and a strike.
Conforto's got that popped all fields, but that fly ball that just goes 10-15 feet further than everyone else's. I was talking to Kevin Long, the hitting coach for the Mets, about that yesterday. Just what he was just calling sick pop.
Harvey retired, 2 down. Tuesday, we've got an ESPN doubleheader for you. We will start it in St. Louis. The Cardinals hosting the Dodgers at 7 o'clock Eastern time, and then the second game at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific. The Giants entertaining the Nationals. Both games also streaming live on the ESPN app. Nice, beautiful live shot outside from the bridge, one of a number of bridges that crosses the Allegheny here just outside PNC Park. Granderson with a fly ball to left center deep, but playable for McCutchen. And 3 up, 3 down. They go, 1-0 Pirates. ESPN is presented by Taco Bell. Here we are atop the Clemente wall, 21 feet high down the right field line at PNC Park as we go to the bottom of the third. The Pirates on a Gregory Polanco home run lead 1-0 over the Mets. This is Glass now.
I was just
Wave
jumping
kids.
up. I was jumping up
Wave
trying to get a
kids.
T-shirt. You know,
Yeah.
the T-shirts they shoot up in the stands.
Glass now with a ground ball out to second, and he is just out by a half step. A guy's been swinging the bat extremely well. He's now 5 for 13 on the season.
We spoke about Matt Harvey this season and the misses, and if you watch Travis d'Arnaud behind the plate where he wants these pitches, that was a fastball missed way up in the slider, but again, look at the glove. He wants these pitches low and he's missing high. This is an area not just for the walks, but where batters are going to capitalize and be able to crush, and we saw that with Polanco in the home run. Slider needed down on the back foot, ended up in the cookie zone for Polanco, and he hits it out. So it's the walks, but it's also the big hits.
But it's giant misses too, and there's another one right there. It's almost like, all right, let me overcorrect here on those pitches that I was missing up and out of the zone, and he just yanks a fastball. I mean, that's a half a dozen pitches now, and for the most part he's pitched pretty well so far here the first couple innings, but that's half a dozen pitches not close to where he wanted them to go.
Adam Frazier pops one up for Asdrubal Cabrera, quickly 2 down. Weekdays on ESPN2, join hosts Chris Rose and Kevin Millar as they discuss the day's major news and events from around baseball. Intentional Talk, weekdays at 4 on ESPN2 and streaming live on the ESPN app.
Can't wait to see what guests they have on this week. Always fun.
They get the holiday off tomorrow, though. We got the triple header tomorrow, so.
And buckle up again on Tuesday.
I'll tell you what, they are the best at getting the most out of players, because we know, I mean, you get a lot of guys and it's hard for them to just be loose and be themselves.
Yeah.
And you get Millar and Rose with them. It's fun stuff.
2 down for Josh Harrison. Who rode into the clubhouse today. What do you call that vehicle? What was that
It's
thing
like
he was on?
a scooter meets a bike, but it's like
Meets the future.
Yes.
It looked like it was from about 2030. I think it flies part of the way.
Yeah.
It also looked like if we didn't step aside, we were getting mowed down.
Yeah, we
Yes.
were.
Yeah.
He said
It had
just,
like rims.
just trying to stay off my legs.
Harvey had a 3-up, 3-down first, gave up a solo homer to Polanco and a 2-out walk to Cervelli in the second, looking for a 3-up, 3-down third.
And he went back. That was the fastball there that he tried to climb the ladder with. It pretty well executed there, but it followed up what was a curveball. And I think that curveball, it looks like he has a decent feel for early on. And again, that's a pitch he has not thrown a lot so far this year. It might be a pitch he features more tonight because he has commanded it and he has thrown some good ones. And here it looks like it's coming again. No, he's shaking. He's shaking a lot. But d'Arnaud was thinking along with me, going curveball, following up that high fastball. He's going back to the slider, though.
And threw a good one. It's fouled up. That was a well-located slider, especially with an 0-2 count.
Yep. 0-2, he wants this down and away. Essentially wants this to be kind of a chase pitch, and he does it. There's great downward action on it and ends up a ball. Harrison way out in front. Could go a lot of ways now.
d'Arnaud wants it again, but Harvey shakes him off to the fastball. Some pitchers will shake off the catcher almost constantly. Some will literally never do it. They just feel, let the catcher do the thinking. If I've got conviction in the pitch, I will execute the pitch. But we have seen Harvey shake off d'Arnaud a lot in the early going tonight. It looks like he wants the changeup now. And he hung it. It's lined hard off the glove of Reyes. And safely across is Harrison.
Well, that's a pitch we haven't seen a lot of yet tonight. But he definitely hangs this pitch. I would have liked to have seen him go back to the curveball. He hangs it. Reyes unable to come up with it. Cabrera tries to fire, but Harrison too quick down the line.
So since we started checking in kind of pitch by pitch on what Darno is calling, Harvey's been shaking him off every single pitch. Kind of the game within the game. One for the fastball, and he wants it away. I mean, guys, and this is where it all starts, right? Nothing happens until the catcher and the pitcher get together and the ball is thrown. This is, if you're breaking the game down right to the nuts and bolts, this is where it starts, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that relationship, first and foremost, that exists, the kind of nonverbal communication between pitcher and catcher, the game plan that you formulate before a game, and then going out and trying to execute.
So 1 fastball, 2 curveball, 3 slider, and then wiggle the fingers for the changeup. Josh Bell, the batter for the Pirates. Harrison is a threat to run. He's got 5 stolen bases on the season. Darno wants the fastball away again.
And he'll want it down and away.
Over the middle of the plate, but he gets a ground ball to Duda at first, and that'll be the inning. No runs, a base hit, and a man left. 1-0 Pirates at the end of 3. Buster Olney with Terry Collins when we come back. Park, 1-0 Pirates going to the top of the 4th. Between innings moments ago, Buster Olney with Terry Collins.
Terry, what's the best things that you've seen out of Matt Harvey early in this game?
Well, this is the best curveball I've seen him have in a year. So I'm really happy with that. I mean, he's made 1 bad pitch. Otherwise, he's locating fastball, he's moving the ball around the strike zone. Been pretty good tonight.
What's your biggest concern moving forward in this game about him?
Well, you know, right now we got to keep an eye on him. He's, you know, he hasn't gotten real deep in any game yet, and so, but he's got to 100 pitches. So right now he's, you know, he's got command of stuff. So hopefully he can give us a lot of innings.
Terry, thanks.
All right, Buster, thank you. And Harvey, at only 40 pitches through 3, has given up the solo home run to Gregory Polanco. That's all the scoring tonight. But this is definitely a much better performance than the Mets have seen from Harvey his last several times out. It'll be Reyes, Bruce, and Walker, 2, 3, and 4 in the Mets lineup against Tyler Glasnow, who quietly has 3 shutout innings, has only given up 1 hit, has not walked a batter. And of the 9 outs he's recorded, 2 have been strikeouts, 6 have been ground balls, just 1 ball in the air for an out. That a fly ball by Granderson. So Glasnow pitching extremely well in the early going. We'll get a chance to hear a little bit later on tonight from Clint Hurdle in game. You know, we talked about Terry Collins, and it's a unique situation he's got with the Mets, with the size of the market and the media and the level of injuries and some of the issues that have developed within the organization in terms of information coming out as Reyes grounds out. I think you guys feel the same as me. We love the opportunity to go into his office and to talk to him. There's no more candid person that we speak to in baseball, no more open, honest person than Terry Collins. And just my 2 cents, I think he's got about the toughest managerial job in baseball, given everything that's going on around his team.
Absolutely. And honestly, just being able to handle the injuries and then handling the information of the injuries. And he is a guy that so naturally just wants to speak the truth and be honest and be real. And it's in a market where he can't be himself a lot of the times. And you can see it wears on him.
Jay Bruce, the bat. Yet, they made the postseason last year. They made the World Series the year before. And there is a lot of talent on this team if they can get healthy. Who knows? Mercer couldn't come up with it. That'll be a base hit for Bruce. He's got both Met hits tonight. Neil Walker will come to the plate now, and that means it's time to take a look at our value player, brought to you by True Value. And after a very difficult April for the former Pirate, Walker has been swinging the bat extremely well in the month of May.
And another reason why, you look at this Mets team once they're all healthy and the potential of this offense. Neil Walker is not necessarily a guy you'd think of, but he's been so consistent as an offensive player and has heated up in May.
And Walker's got a base hit.
But getting back to the Mets and the injury situation, and just all that surrounds this team, whether it's perception, whether it's reality, whether it's a combination of both, there just seems to be chaos around this club. And frankly, though, it's been that way for the last few years.
Absolutely.
Even in the year they went to the World Series, making the playoffs last year. And I think you've got to say Terry Collins has at least done a really nice job, I think, of being the front man and deflecting some of that chaos from the players.
They could have rolled over, folded. They could have folded at various times last year.
No
Absolutely could have. And they played hard right to the end of the season.
Making the playoffs.
All right, so let me ask you this. Let's say, Buster, you're on this too. Let's say we're looking into our crystal ball, and I tell you that my crystal ball says one of these two teams is going to make the playoffs. They both, Mets have been there the last 2 years, Pirates 3 of the last 4, both off to subpar starts, sub 500 starts, both with all kinds of issues. One of them is going to make the playoffs. Which one's it going to be?
Let me say I think they're both in some trouble, but I'll take the Mets just because of the upside of when they're all healthy, the potential that still lies.
Yeah, I hate agreeing with you, and I do, but and I think it's because we're sitting here talking about their offense right now. This is a pitching team when they're healthy. So when they get that going, and their offense is even just half of what it needs to be, they don't need to score a lot of runs when you think about what this staff can produce.
Duda lifts a fly ball to left field for the second out, and the runner's hole. Buster, what about you? Pick one.
Well, guys, thanks for leaving the right answer to me. I would definitely take the Pirates.
Wow.
At some point here, they're going to be getting Starling Marte back. You see Glass now is making progress. The year goes along. Jameson Taillon, who was terrific in a minor league rehabilitation appearance today, he'll rejoin the rotation. Here's the other thing. The Nationals have a big lead. They have a great team. The National League, and so the National League East might be out of the Mets' reach. And on the other hand, National League Central is one giant mud bog because of the offensive problems of the Chicago Cubs.
What is it, a mud bog?
A mud bog.
Is that, they have those in Vermont? Is that?
No doubt.
No, we have manure piles.
But Buster, I was counting the wild card as making the playoffs. I think the ship has sailed in the NL East, but I also believe the NL East, top to bottom, after the Nationals, is a weaker division. So I think there's some beating up that the Mets can do on some of the clubs in the East.
You saw the standings in the NL Central moments ago. The Cubs lost again today. They were beaten by the Dodgers again. Now, at least they scored today. They got shut out each of the last 2 games, but the Cubs lost. So Clint Hurdle's team may be in last in their division, but they're not that far behind the other 4 teams in the National League Central. And right now you've got what appear to be 3 very strong teams. And again, it's just Memorial Day weekend, between a quarter of the way and a third of the way through the season. But you look at the National League West, Colorado, Arizona, Los Angeles, 3 teams playing really well right now. And again, a million different things can happen, but could
And they will.
both wild cards come out of the West? And they will, as they always do. But will both? Is there a shot that both wild card teams could come out of the National League West? Down and in, and that ball will get away, and the runners will advance on the wild pitch.
Well, pretty good job by Cervelli here of getting in the dirt, but just too much bite on this pitch, too far down and in. It just kind of skips away. An easy move up for these hitters.
So a base hit now could cash in a pair. Bruce at third, Walker at second, 2 down, and a 2-1 count on Cabrera, who grounded out his first time up. In the air, deep center, McCutchen back at the wall, off the wall. 2 runs will score on a long double by Cabrera, and the Mets have the lead.
It's a great job by Cabrera. Getting in the hitter's count, but still thinking the middle of the field, understanding that first base open, so he's not necessarily just going to be challenged. It looks like a changeup that stays up. Cabrera stays back and gets a pretty good charge into this ball to straightaway center field. You see him wait back long enough on that changeup that again stays up. McCutchen tracked it pretty well, but I think he gets too close to the wall, so it kind of stifles his jump. I think if he gets there and that fence doesn't get in his way and he can jump completely athletically, he might have had a chance to make that play.
Remember, prior to the Starling Marte suspension, Andrew McCutchen had been moved to right field, Polanco to left, Marte to center. But when Marte was suspended, McCutchen went back to center, Polanco came back to right. Frazier is now in left. There's Travis d'Arnaud, who had himself a night last night, 3 for 4, single, double, and a homer.
I think if McCutchen gets there a little more under control,
he could climb it even.
I think he could have either climbed it. I think he had time to either climb it or at least get a better launch from deeper onto the warning track. Watch him kind of, he's a little, he gets to it in pretty good shape. I think he's tracking it, feels like he has a bead on it. He gets a good jump on the ball, but just at the very end, he's got to alter his route. And then when he jumps, the fence kind of stops him from getting to that top height.
Would have been a great catch.
Would have been an unbelievable catch, no question, because the ball was nailed, and he got a good jump on the ball.
Been a tough couple of years for Andrew McCutchen, the National League MVP 2013. Top 5 finish in MVP balloting 4 years in a row. But again, the numbers declined a little bit in 15, more in 16, more in 17. The defensive metrics were not kind to him last year. And again, the Pirates made a change, put him in right field, which is the small part of the ballpark here at PNC. Left field is the big part, is the bigger spot in the outfield. But now back in center with Marte suspended. Did he go? He did not.
I still think Andrew McCutchen has what it takes to be an impact player. And if the Pirates were to fall out of contention, I would line up if I was another team. I think a change of scenery, I think a better environment. I just think it's not been great here for him in Pittsburgh with all the trade rumors, with the moving of position, and then Marte gets suspended.
3-2 curveball hit to deep left field. Will it stay in the park? It will. Frazier with just enough room to make the catch, and that'll end the inning. But the Mets have the lead. Major League Baseball draft coverage begins Monday, June 12th on MLB Network and MLB.com. We go bottom 4 here in Pittsburgh, and the man at the plate responsible for the 1 run for the Pirates on a solo home run back in the second, as Drupal Cabrera's 2-run double has given the Mets the lead. Polanco, Freese, and McCutchen, 4, 5, 6. There's that changeup from Harvey that just sails up and away and misses well outside. 3 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, 1 walk, no strikeouts for Harvey tonight. But as Terry Collins told Buster, the best curveball he's seen from Harvey in a year. Skied into right. Time now to go to Buster Olney with the field level report, brought to you by Scott's Roundup for Lawns.
Dan, the Pittsburgh Pirates haven't won the World Series since 1979, the Mets since 1986. So the poll question this week is, which team among the 8 that we've listed is going to end their World Series drought first? And these are teams that haven't won a World Series before, or they've had long droughts in alphabetical order. Houston Astros, Milwaukee Brewers, Indians, Mariners, Mets, Pirates, Rangers, or the Colorado Rockies. Who you got?
I think it could be a lot of Astros fans voting on that one, don't you think?
No doubt about it. I mean,
man, they don't lose.
Yeah, look, I still love Cleveland. I think in the end they're going to be an outstanding team by season's end. Almost coming our way there.
I had you, Dan.
But
thank you.
The Astros are now set up to be, I think, a great and a super team for the next several years. They're set up for the long haul to be great. And that's why I think for that poll, I think you got to go with the Astros.
Just swept the Orioles. They got the best record in the game at 35-16. And you got to believe that they're going to go out and get a starting pitcher in July.
No doubt.
Absolutely. And I mean, you think about just their offense and how dynamic, but them going and getting veterans. I mean, they're the best team in baseball today. Of course, a long way to go, but they're fun to watch. We got to see them a few weeks ago.
Well, the bullpen's been excellent, and you would think they'd even go add a piece or two there, something at the trade deadline. The defensive matching up they're able to do late in the ball game, the kind of depth on their bench, they're a real complete team right now.
Pretty good combination up the middle.
Yeah.
Altuve, Correa. You see the catch Correa made last night?
Yes.
Correa made a crazy catch last night.
He's made a few of them like that. There's actually one that's online all the time of him running back, and it's like he's lost, and then he just reaches back and catches it.
And that depth you talked about, A.J. Hinch, when we had the Astros a couple of weeks ago, talked to us. They never get caught short. He can give people days off, get other people in there. Everybody stays fresh.
Marwin Gonzalez is a huge, and that's an important piece that I think gets overlooked with any team, and not, I'm talking about the Astros. When you look at the Mets, I think something that's hurt them is that lack of depth of a guy that can come in and play anywhere.
Swinging bunt up the third baseline for David Freese. He's got himself a base hit. So a man on with a 1 out in the bottom of the 4th, and that will bring up Andrew McCutchen, the guy we were talking about last half inning. He has been such an icon, such a pillar here in Pittsburgh throughout his career. Former MVP, multiple-time All-Star for a number of years. I mean, on the short list, and one of the best players in the game. Tougher times the last couple of years. If you ask people, if you just said to your average baseball fan, not in Pittsburgh because they know, but hey, how old do you think Andrew McCutchen is? I think people would guess 32, 33. Andrew McCutchen is only 30. Yet things have taken a turn the last couple of years, so you wouldn't think it's age. And Aaron, you said things like uncomfortable situation, change of scenery. How did this happen for a guy who could have been mayor a few years ago?
So connected with the Pirates.
Yeah. And I still think if they do explore possibly trading him, I still think it's a very emotional situation in this city. I don't think it's cut and dried as, hey, we're going to rebuild, and he's only, he's got an option next year and that's it. And I still think it's emotional. This guy has meant a lot to this city.
No doubt about it. But the reality of the Pittsburgh Pirates situation, if they were to fall out of contention, say, over the next month, is they would not be able to sign him long term necessarily. And to try and keep your window and your longevity of being a competitive franchise, you've got to make difficult decisions like that when you're in Pittsburgh and a smaller market club. And I think there's a lot left in his tank. I think he's just gotten in a little bit of a funk offensively, and then I think the distractions that have surrounded, there was rumor that he was traded this winter at one point, then the move of positions. And I know he said all the right things and he's handled things like a complete professional, but when you're a great player and an MVP, there's no doubt it's had an impact.
If you look at some of the analytics, they suggest that early in the year he was hitting in a little bit of bad luck, that he was hitting the ball hard, not finding holes. Lately, not as much. Much less of a hard hit percentage, if you will, barreling the ball up, to use the Pirates term.
Exit velocity, if you want to.
Yeah.
No, but he's had
it. I think the last couple of weeks it went down until last night, obviously, when he homered and doubled. If you look at he's hitting the ball on the ground more, in the air less, all of the things that we're now becoming used to looking for: exit velocity, launch angle, hard hit balls, that sort of thing. The numbers aren't where they were 2 or 3 years ago, but they do suggest better results than he's gotten this year. So maybe there's a little bit of batted ball, bad luck for McCutchen so far.
I think in watching him last night in that game.
There's a liner for a base hit. Up to second on the play, goes free.
He looked like Andrew McCutchen. And right there, where you see that violent lower half, which helps him generate elite bat speed, which has always been a hallmark of his game. It looks like a changeup that stays up, and you see him just fire that lower half. I think last night was the start of him really starting to swing the bat well. And even though it's been a struggle for him, especially the last few weeks, he does have 7 home runs. He's in position to, I think, go on a run and have a much more Andrew McCutchen type season. And that is a really, really good swing right there.
And I like him in the 6th spot. I like him coming back. No, now.
Right now for a few days, absolutely.
Coming back in, he took those days off. The media was all over it. What's happening? He kind of just slides back in, and it's almost like, you know what? This is where I need to be until I can show. When you're hitting under 200 or right around that.
It's just, he's never done that, right? He's always been hitting second, third, first, fourth. So it's always come in from the first inning, you're up. Now it's a chance to just kind of take a breath, get myself right, and I think, frankly, he's had a lot of quality at bats here the last 2 nights.
Didn't start Wednesday, came into the game late, didn't play at all Thursday, so in effect sat for a couple of days, and then in all 3 games this series he has hit 6th in the lineup. Harvey with a wild pitch, and the runners advance.
Well, Dan, that's another just fastball that misses his spot by not inches, but maybe feet. And that's a sign, again, he's pitching pretty well tonight, but we've still seen him spray that fastball, and that's just a release point issue. When a pitcher is dialed in, especially the pitcher of the caliber of Harvey, you don't miss with your fastball this bad. And that's really not close.
Wild pitch, advances the runners. Just 1 out in the inning. Cervelli the batter. And just to finish up on McCutchen, you guys mentioned hitting 6th this weekend. He's never hit. He has never started a game hitting lower than 4th. He's coming in pinch hit late for somebody in the 5 spot, 7 spot, whatever. But he's never started a game in his entire career lower than 4th until this weekend.
He'll be back up there next weekend. He'll be back in that 2-3 spot.
You're all in.
I am.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a fine year and a really strong second half.
Good slider. Boy, Harvey, mixing great pitches with that inconsistency.
And this is a great one. This is a 90-mile-an-hour slider that starts out, looks like a strike out of the hand to Cervelli, but look at the downward action. That's a wipeout slider right there, and in a hitter's count, Cervelli badly fooled.
2-2. Fastball, and Cervelli gets a piece.
Pretty good job by that Harvey there. Looked like a two-seam fastball, but the slider, the nastiness of it, and having a hitter out in front now sets up the possibility to do a lot of different things. He goes two-seam fastball. Look at the run across the plate there.
And even that was a miss.
But in Cervelli's mind, he's got to think about a lot now. There's a lot of ways he can go.
And he got him with a high fastball for out number 2. First strikeout of the night for Harvey.
Well, he didn't hit his spot, but again, the nastiness of the breaking balls within this at bat allowed this fastball to play up a little bit harder. He wanted it on the outside corner. He challenged him with just 4 seams. He misses his spot, but it's at the top of the zone, and because of the fear and respect of the off-speed pitch, he's able to throw that fastball right by Cervelli at the top of the zone.
So now decision time. It looks like Terry Collins has made his decision. You got the number 8 hitter up. You got the pitcher on deck. You got a base open, but they, at least at the outset, will pitch to Jordy Mercer, who's been hot. Now, as we mentioned earlier, Tyler Glasnow, the pitcher who's on deck, has been swinging the bat great. He had 3 hits Tuesdays, 5 for 13 on the season. So maybe this is no ordinary situation.
That's a dangerous first little get it in there slider. If you're Mercer, that's kind of a pitch where you know you have a base open. You kind of go up there and lay on something off speed. That might have been a good pitch to handle, knowing that they're going to pitch you around you or like they're ahead in the count at least.
Another great slider. 0-2.
And if he can retire Mercer here, I think this is a confidence builder for Harvey after the wild pitch to potentially get 2 big outs, and potentially a decision by Collins to pitch to Mercer here that we'll look back on as a quality move in the middle of this game.
Oh no. On the appeal, no swing. "25 pitches this inning for Harvey. Came into this inning having thrown only 40. He's up to 65 now. Bit of a muggy night. Rain expected later on tonight. Got him on the outside corner. Mercer didn't agree with the call, but he is called out on strikes. That'll end the inning. Back-to-back strikeouts for Harvey to strand a couple. Welcome back to Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell. We go to the top of the 5th at PNC Park. The Mets 2, the Pirates 1. Rubber match of a 3-game series as Drupal Cabrera with a 2-run double. Last inning off Tyler Glasnow, giving the Mets the lead. Wander Lagares leads it off. Matt Harvey on deck here to begin the 5th. First pitch swinging, juggled, recovered, and on first freeze makes the play. 1 down. Well, on this Memorial Day weekend, we honor all those who gave their lives in military service. We also point out someone who served, Sandy Alderson, the Vice President General Manager of the New York Mets, who was a first lieutenant in the Marines from 1969 to 73, served part of that time in Vietnam as a platoon commander. Our Memorial Day tribute is brought to you by USAA.
Great picture there.
Here's Harvey, rounded out his first time up, 0 for 20 on the season. Sends it foul down the right field line.
That might have been the heater he needed to put in play. Because it might be right back to that curveball now.
Our view from the right field wall, it is the curveball, but he puts it in play and squibs it up the middle for a base hit, his first of the season.
He's had some decent swings tonight. A little fortunate here. He catches that curveball off the end, but able to put it in play in the middle of the diamond. Talking a little smack to the bench there. So they do go right back to that curveball. It's not a bad one. It's down in the strike zone, but see him catch that thing off the end and end up with the handle. That's always a weird feeling when you still have the handle. It feels like you got the baton, you're running a relay down to first, but a good feeling when knowing it's a knock.
Back to the top of the order for Curtis Granderson, 0 for 2. Harvey the runner at first after the base hit.
Harvey finally has his last batting glove off. 2 pitches in. It's been a while since he's learned the routine over there at first base.
He's so excited though. He keeps like looking over, just like, you see that?
Granderson drives a ball deep right center field, off the top of the wall. It stays in play. Harvey on his way to third on a long double by Curtis Granderson.
Curtis Granderson does a nice job with 94 miles an hour fastball that he gets pretty up in the zone. And this is when Granderson is going well. He's able to connect middle in especially, but just get his hands. He doesn't have to get even with this pitch. He just gets enough of it. He's under it to drive it off the wall. This is a 1.5 feet from being a home run, as it hits just below. You see when it hits that yellow line.
That's 2 high fastballs that we've seen lefties get to. Bruce earlier, and now Granderson. The only way to get to those is with a short swing, which we saw right there, especially with Glasnow riding it up there with high velocity.
And Reyes lines one into right field, a base hit. Harvey in to score, held at third Granderson, and the Mets now lead 3-1.
Just another high fastball here and another real nice swing from a left-handed hitter for the New York Mets. This time Reyes. The only way you get to a good high fastball like this is if you're short with your swing, and he just explodes that lower half and is able to get the barrel and center that pitch as that ball's hammered into right. Even with the bobble by Polanco, the ball's hit so hard, it gets there so quick. They hold Granderson at third. You see the nice try out there by Harrison.
Meeting on the mound right now for Glasnow. Come out to the ballpark June 3rd and 4th as Major League Baseball celebrates Play Ball Weekend, supported by Chevrolet, Scott's, and Nathan's. For more information, visit playball.org. Hard to believe it's almost June. Fair number of Mets fans here in Pittsburgh for this weekend series. The Mets now lead 3-1 after the RBI single by Reyes. One of the reasons the Mets have been a good offensive team at times this year is they're hitting over 300 as a team. 309 in fact, with runners in scoring position on the season. That's second in the majors, behind only Colorado. They hit home runs. They're hitting well with runners in scoring position this year. The big problem statistically for the Mets has been the pitching, without question. With an ERA of 4.99 on the season coming into action tonight.
And this is a guy with that runner at third and less than 2 outs. You want to let the middle of the order swing the bat, but this is a combination here with Reyes, his 5 for 5 stolen bases, and Glasnow and Cervelli. If they pick a spot, this is a pretty good guy to run against.
In his big league career, Glasnow has allowed 20 stolen bases, just 3 caught stealings. Yana Marinez now starting to throw in the Pirates bullpen. And it's in for a strike. I think Bruce had given up, was waiting so long. Don't know if he requested time or not, or just decided he was going to kind of relax and let that pitch go by, but it catches the corner for a called strike. Reyes draws a throw.
It does look like Reyes is starting to work over there. See him talking to Tom Goodwin, former outstanding base stealer and burner over there at first, just talking about what Glasnow is, how slow is he to home plate.
There goes Reyes, and it's fouled back.
And that's a situation where Goodwin will come over. He's got the stopwatch, and he'll just whisper into Reyes' ear, all right, he's a 1-4 or whatever the number is, and that'll tell a base stealer like Reyes, okay, this is what kind of jump I need to get against a guy like Glasnow. And frankly, it's not a great one. He knows if he gets a decent jump, he's got a chance to have success. And as you can see, Glasnow has given up 11 stolen bases to lead MLB.
Breaking ball pulled foul. Tom Goodwin knows a thing or two about stolen bases. 369 of them in his 14-year big league career.
Tommy can fly. Could fly.
Stole 66 one year with the Royals back in 1996.
Something's got to give there. Glasnow 11, and the Mets don't do it a lot, but Reyes does. And I think he's got him measured. He's got that move down, which is a decent move over there to first base. I think he understands it.
He keeps grabbing the back of his left leg, though. That's the only concern. He's been doing that since he tried to steal Temp on the foul ball.
And 1 and 2, do you worry about a pitch out?
No.
Going.
Easy.
Number 6 on the season for Reyes.
And now that changes how you got to defend Jay Bruce now with a 2-run lead now for the Mets. Now the infield moves in. Just a better opportunity for Bruce to not only drive in 1, but potentially 2 now.
Curveball lashed down the right field line, and this will score a pair. Bruce having himself a big night. 3 for 3, 2 doubles and a couple of RBIs, and it's 5-1.
On his first at bat, he drove a fastball up in the zone that he crushed, and here he's patient. This is a good 2-strike swing because you see him stay a little bit more in his legs. He sees this curveball out of the hand, so he's able to stay back enough. A pull hitter, he knows what he can do with the barrel, but you see his legs already kind of go, but he's able to just keep that barrel and drive it down the line. A good 2-strike swing from Jay Bruce.
And that curveball from Glasnow has really started to flat out. We saw a lot of good ones early, Jess, but where he was getting chases in the dirt, Bruce was able to lay off that 1-2 pitch in the dirt and to set up that, which was just a kind of a hanging, rolling curveball that he hammers in the corner. And all started with Matt Harvey. A little 2-strike off the end, dump up the middle. Got this offense going.
Back to the mound and on to first for out number 2. Glasnow, a guy 5th round pick, 2011. Came straight out of high school, and tremendous, not good, tremendous minor league numbers, but still finding his way, very young, just 23, unable to really kind of establish himself on a consistent level at the big leagues, at the big league level in his first year plus in the majors.
But Dan, even in the minor leagues, while he's dominated most of the way through, the walks were still always incredibly high. When you get to the big leagues and guys are able to consistently lay off pitches out of the zone to get you into hitters' counts. Right.
We're in pirate country.
Dan. With the R.
Oh, that was him.
That was
him.
Hey, I'm over here.
Come on, Jess. Which one of us
like
seemed more likely to drop an R?
Did you hear me?
Here?
Did you hear me?
Yeah.
I was like, Dan.
Yeah, no.
You've thrown out
Jess,
the pirate
Aaron,
talk.
Aaron, Jess.
She was surprised it came from you because you're so mature.
Yeah.
I expected all the
In this
time from
crowd.
him.
See, I heard an arg in there.
I want to hear your art now.
No shot. 0-2. Good block there by Cervelli. How about Jay Bruce? Double in the first, single and scored in the fourth, 2-run double in the fifth. He is having a very productive Jay Bruce kind of season. You look up at the end and it'll be, 30+ homers, 90+ RBIs. And if they can keep Duda healthy with the power potential that he has, this lineup gets longer. Strike 3 called to end the inning, but it's a good one for the Mets. They scored 3 times and now lead 5-1. Only with Pirates manager Clint Hurdle.
Clint, the first 3 innings for Tyler were excellent. What was different the last 2 innings?
He got a couple ground balls that found the outfield grass and a changeup that he left out over the plate that Cabrera hit. Other than that, I mean, this guy's competing. He's learning things up here. Execution is always critical. So we're going to keep feeding him the ball and let him get better as the season goes on.
What have you seen in Andrew McCutchen's at bat since you gave him a couple days off?
We're just trying to get him more direct to the ball, get his hands in a position they're strong, where he can take a swing anywhere he wants to. I think sometimes just a breather, slow down. We scored 21 runs. He only had one batter. Realize he doesn't have to do it all. He's in a better place.
Thanks, Clint.
So trying to take a little pressure off, dropping McCutchen down in the order. And some pretty good results over the last couple of nights. Meanwhile, Tyler Glasnow is out of the game as Alan Hansen comes up as a pinch hitter for Glasnow here, leading off the bottom of the 5th. Hansen, a 24-year-old from the Dominican Republic, puts a good swing on it, but he fouls it off.
And guys, this could be a key inning for Matt Harvey, who we've talked about has struggled to get deep into ball games. Last couple times out, just 5-inning outings at 68 pitches. If he can have a clean inning, a good chance he'll get well beyond the 5th tonight.
Hansen drives the ball the other way, but going back to make the catch. Granderson, 1 down. Time now to take a look at StatCast, powered by AWS, as Adam Frazier comes to the plate for the Pirates. And one thing that a baseball is learning about Adam Frazier, he can turn around a fastball. He's hitting well over 400 against fastballs on the season.
He's got a short, compact swing. You referenced it earlier when we look at the Mets hitters being able to hammer that high fastball. But Adam Frazier, almost old school in a way, because he stays really middle of the field. His hands stay inside the ball. And a big part of that's his size. So he's not going to be a guy that's thinking launch angle. He's not going to be a guy thinking, I need to get this out in front and hit it in the air. He's definitely a middle of the field line drive hitter.
Harvey gave him a fastball there, but he fouls it back, and it's 0-2. Frazier, as you say, just not a big power guy. In 353 career games in the minors, 3 homers. In 96 games in the majors, 5 homers. So more power in the majors than he showed in the minors. A couple of 3-run homers this week for the Pirates in their series against Atlanta. One-two from Harvey. And a ground ball to first. Harvey covering 2 down.
Well, we've seen both from Matt Harvey tonight. The big misses versus when he's still on and got his stuff. And when he's bad, look at where he's at touchdown. See his arm slot, how far it is from his head. This is what causes a lot of his pitches. And Booney, you talked about his release point to be off. You see 94 up in the zone. Now look at where his arm slot is at touchdown, so close to his head. So now, quick, compact, he's able to bury a slider exactly where he wants to locate it. And this is where Matt Harvey, again, sometimes he's thinking about the mechanics, but it's because he is off, especially with his release point and the arm slot, that you see the variance in his results.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to the common denominator for every great pitcher, it's usually command. And that release point and repeating your delivery is everything in having elite command. And I truly believe if he can find that slot and find that consistency, I think the results will start to follow.
First 4 starts this year were good ones. 2.84 ERA after the first 4. Has struggled much more the last 5. Here are the innings pitched for Harvey the last 5 starts. 4 1/3, 5 1/3, 5, 5 1/3, 5. So the depth hasn't been there. A lot of pitches, long at bats, walks high. But he has been better tonight, no doubt about it. Up the middle and through, a base hit for Harrison. Now 2 for 3, and with the hit earlier tonight, already extended his hitting streak to a 10-gamer. Memorial Day triple header for you on ESPN tomorrow. Starts at 1 Eastern. American League East Division battle between the Yankees and the Orioles. Then at 4 o'clock it'll be the Nationals and the Giants. The evening game, the Tigers and the Royals. The Washington Nationals, like the Astros of the American League West, who had such a big lead, they're up 10 now. The Nationals are a healthy 8.5 up in the National League East. Every other division, the other four, all close within 3 games between first and second. Solid base hit for Bell to move Harrison up to second.
We've seen 2 hitters in a row now sit fastball away, and you can tell just a lot of times you split the plate in half, especially with a guy like Matt Harvey, that you know when he buries it in on your hands you can be in trouble. So here, fastball on the outside part of the plate, but when you're looking there, this pitch can look a lot more middle, and that's exactly how Josh Bell's able to handle it.
Part of the young wave of Pirates. Bell at first base, Polanco still a young player, Frazier getting a chance to play, and he's doing well. Here is Polanco, who homered back in the second. Polanco just activated a couple of days ago. Spent 10 days on the DL with a strained hamstring. And resumed play in this weekend series. Had a home run off Jacob deGrom Friday. And a home run off Matt Harvey here on Sunday, and had a home run cut right there.
A real strong pass right there, but a well executed slider. As we take a look at that home run back in the second inning, it's just kind of a flat nothing slider on the outer half that he shows off that power and rides it out the front door to get the Pirates scoring started tonight, but been mostly Mets since then. See him starting to heat up.
They got a lot of guys in this lineup, up and down the lineup. Last 7 games, 9 games, 10 games. You're seeing more offense from the Pirates than they needed, again in the absence of Marte and Gong. Starling Marte eligible to rejoin the team on July the 18th after he finishes that 80-game suspension for PED use. All-star caliber player. And Clint Hurdle talked to us before the game today. Marte did apologize to manager, coaches, players, teammates, everybody before he left. Clint said it was interesting, though. He was talking to us about, you read about it when it happens on other teams, but then when it happens to your team, it's a big deal. I mean, you read about it from afar and you kind of have an emotional distance from it, but when it happens within a manager's own clubhouse, it was a big thing. But the word he used when we asked him, how do you feel your players moved on from that? He said, I think they moved on professional. They dealt with it. They got the apology for Marte. Marte left, and they have moved on. Every manager will tell you they want to focus on the 25 guys who are here, not the guys who aren't here.
Well, and I think in the Pirates case, now the fact that it's Starling Marte, a great player in this game, and I think for this Pirates organization that I think was starting to transition and make him really one of the faces of this franchise, moving an all-time great Pirate in Andrew McCutchen off of center field for Starling Marte, and I think really starting to build things around, and then out of nowhere they get hit with this blow. I don't think they've quite recovered yet as an organization about, man, what do they do and what is he going forward? That's the next question that gets answered, right? When he comes back after the 80-game suspension, what is he?
Well, how much, of those numbers were drug related, were caused by what he was taking, and so that's when that gets answered when he gets back.
The 2-2. Got him down and in with a slider, strikes him out to end the inning. 2 men left on, 5-1 Mets at the end of 5. Young talents for Pittsburgh. Josh Bell with more on him. Let's go to Buster Olney.
Hey Dan, Josh Bell is a product of the state of Texas, grew up in Irving. He attended the Jesuit College Preparatory School of Dallas, graduated with Jordan Spieth. He comes from a family of folks who believe in education. His mom Myrtle's an educator, dad a computer analyst. He was drafted in the second round by the Pirates and got a $5 million signing bonus. And on his second day in the big leagues, his first home run, a pinch hit grand slam against the Chicago Cubs, and boy did his face light up yesterday when I asked him about that.
Well, they are very fond of him and what he might bring. A guy who's known for a great work ethic, a switch hitter, got power, really a natural outfielder, adjusting as of last year to first base.
I think another one of the building blocks here, along with Polanco, along with, they hope, you know, when Starling Marte returns, kind of that core of players going forward for this Pirates. There's no question he's part of that. As Jan Marinez is on. Two-seam fastball you'll see in the mid-90s and a slider.
Marinez was claimed off waivers just less than 2 weeks ago from Milwaukee, where he made 15 appearances with the Brewers earlier this year. He's also appeared in the big leagues with the Marlins, the White Sox, and the Rays. And Cabrera lines one over a leaping Josh Harrison into right field, a base hit, his second hit of the night. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by T-Mobile. Unlimited data means unlimited baseball. What's better than unlimited baseball?
Not much.
Not much. It's really, it's a short list.
You gotta love just that Pittsburgh color.
I was just thinking that.
And all the throwback jerseys.
Especially right now, the Penguins. I mean, it's getting over.
Tomorrow night, right?
Everywhere, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those cities that when I hear Pittsburgh, first thing I think of is black and gold.
Yeah.
It just pops into your mind on Pittsburgh.
And if you think, if I say to you, quick, name a Pirate, it's Willie Stargell you think of first, right?
No doubt.
Yeah.
I got that.
Pops.
I got that throwback jersey, the old black one.
Base hit through the right side, Travis d'Arnaud.
I'm more of a Clemente girl.
Well, speaking of black and gold or black and yellow, they are gunning for their second consecutive Stanley Cup championship. Kenny Malkin, Sidney Crosby, and the Penguins are looking to win the Cup again. They take on the Nashville Predators. The Preds making their first ever appearance in the Stanley Cup Finals. And Game 1 is tomorrow night right here in this very town.
I want to go.
I want to go too.
Let's stay.
Can we stay?
Well, I got to get to Bristol tomorrow because we have all the games, so I gotta be there helping out. So if you can get me, I'll report from the game tomorrow
Okay,
night.
all right, there you go. You could do raps
game.
from the Penguins game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you ever want to be like a hockey reporter for one night?
If I can go tomorrow,
Please,
if it's Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final.
Buckle
and do
up.
your pirate arg, like some way mid through. I think that would be awesome.
Todd Walker's locker. He's a Pittsburgh guy, plays for the Mets, but again, born and raised in Pittsburgh. He's got Pens fever.
That Game 7 the other night against the Senators was pretty special.
Overtime, playoffs,
little
Game
blue
7.
Sid the Kid jersey right there.
Did I say Todd Walker? I'm sorry, Neil Walker. Sorry, Neil. Love that Penguins jersey as well.
Yeah.
Pens fans have had it pretty good, and let me tell you, young man, as someone who's from Toronto, you've had it pretty good.
Yes.
You had Mario, you had Yager, you've got Crosby, you've got Malkin.
Yeah.
Neil Walker's had it pretty good. And a swing and a miss by Lagares for out number 1. And with 1 out in the inning and 2 men on, Matt Harvey will come to the plate.
And Freese and Bell Talking to Mariñez, just talking about what play they will have on here in a likely bunting situation.
Jabs at it and comes up empty. Harvey's at 83 pitches right now. Remember, Terry Collins told Buster up to 100 were the words he used. Nobody up in the bullpen right now for Harvey.
Bell and Freese both were in there pretty tight. He's got to execute perfectly to avoid bunting into a double play. He may pull back.
Does, and he fouls it off, and it's 0-2.
I think that was probably the right move. Harvey understanding he's got to be perfect in this spot with Josh Bell bearing down. If he doesn't execute perfectly, that's just a double play bunt.
And bunts it foul on an 0-2 pitch to strike out 2 down. Harvey unable to execute. MLB.com at Bat is your #1 mobile app for live baseball. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience. Get club branded home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today.
We love Conforto. We love the Buccos. A lot of love going around here at PNC.
Here's Curtis Granderson, last time up, doubled and scored. And as we mentioned, hitting better lately, over 300 his last 12 games. Mets head home after the game tonight. They will host Milwaukee in a Memorial Day game tomorrow afternoon, just after 4 o'clock Eastern, locally 4 o'clock local in New York.
Little guy, get him young. Got some popcorn hanging over the wall.
All's well.
Ball 3.
That's great. Oh, that is fantastic. Wonder how their arg is.
Green light?
Yes.
Green light. Base hit. Cabrera on his way home, and this will produce a run to extend the Mets lead.
And that's just a locked-in look at Curtis Granderson. Spit on pitches easily to get into that 3-0 count, and you know he's feeling good, knowing he trusts himself to get a good pitch to handle. At 96 mile an hour, a little two-seamer. You see it real flat though, side to side, and that's a pitch that Granderson, even though that might end up off the plate away, he's got covered, laces it into right center field to tack on another run for the Mets.
And guys, he just matched his season total, previous total, hitting in the leadoff spot. Coming into this game, Granderson had been 2 for 31 hitting in the leadoff spot. 2 hits tonight.
He's a different hitter right now than when he was leading off. You can just see from the takes he's having, he's starting to win pitches. We know the power that he has in there when he's right.
Daniel Hudson, who got off to a rough start this year, coming around lately, but still kind of pitching in these situations, has moved down in the order in the bullpen a little bit. Yan Mariñez has given up a run on 3 hits so far. They're sitting now 6-1 Mets, with runners at first and second, 2 down, and the batter is Jose Reyes. Reyes had an RBI single his last time up. Stole a base, came around to score. First pitch swinging again. It's a bouncer to first. Bell to Mariñez to end the inning. Mets, though, tack on a run. Now up 6-1. coming your way this week on ESPN. Told you about the triple header on Monday, double header on Tuesday. Wednesday night, got a single game for you. It is the Dodgers and the Cardinals. Alex Wood, Carlos Martinez, the scheduled pitching matchup. 8 o'clock Eastern time, also streaming live on the ESPN app. David Freese, speaking of Cardinals, former Cardinal. Remember everything that he accomplished back in 2011 in the postseason. He leads off the inning for the Pirates. Off the glove of Harvey. Big bounce out to Walker, 1 down. Let's go to Buster Olney.
Guys, let's look at the results of our poll question from this week. Which of these 8 franchises is most likely to win the World Series next? And the winner, the Houston Astros, in a runaway at 45%. The Indians second, 19%. Rockies third at 13%. I would have taken the Indians.
I guess not surprising. Houston getting all those. A lot of people thinking Houston might win it this year. Getting almost half the vote. We kind of feel for the Mariners, a team. You talk about teams decimated by injuries. 4/5 of their starting rotation on the DL.
Yeah.
But it's rampant around baseball. Injuries all over the place. Hey, we are here in Pittsburgh, and we are sitting atop the Clemente wall. And of course, one of the great aspects of the legacy of Roberto Clemente is the Roberto Clemente Award, which is given out to one player every year for their. It's both baseball skill and community service. Andrew McCutchen won it last year, and how special that had to be for him as a member of the Pirates to win the Roberto Clemente Award as he swings and misses 2 down. And 2 years ago, Curtis Granderson of the Mets was the winner. Each team will have a nominee every year, and then at the end of the season, one player is chosen from the 30 nominees to win the award. 2 of the good guys in baseball, and the Roberto Clemente Award, one of the most prestigious awards that baseball has to offer, right at the top of the list.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about an award that guys talk about as being a proud moment when they get to win it. I know Rick Sutcliffe with us won it back in the day, and he always talks about the most special award he's ever won in his career. And of course, Roberto Clemente, who died, serving, being a humanitarian.
Trying to deliver supplies to Nicaragua after an earthquake. The plane crashed New Year's Eve 1972 as he left his native Puerto Rico. The plane crashed shortly after takeoff. Clemente, one of 4 people who perished in that crash.
And his impact on so many players. I feel like any player that travels through Pittsburgh, I mean, there's the Roberto Clemente Museum that's now here, and so many players ran into the Mets there last night. Francisco Cervelli is at the bat right now. He said he's there almost every weekend. There's just so much connection to him and his legacy. So many players want to learn and are fans of his and everything that he represented.
0-2 on Cervelli, a walk and a strikeout.
What will be interesting now is Harvey with a chance to have a super quick inning here. If he can retire Cervelli in the next pitch or 2, even though they don't want to go much north of 100, I think he probably comes back out to start the 7th inning if he can retire Cervelli here to end this inning.
I remember Terry Collins mentioning, though, the biggest goal of his is to make sure that Matt Harvey leaves this game on a high note. So I think that'll be the debate internally, is if he's going well, finishes this inning, there could be a chance they could pull him just to have him finish strong.
It's a tough one because you want him to lead with confidence, but your bullpen's a little beat up as well, and you want length. And you wonder if 6 innings, 5 innings is a different story, but if he gets them through 6, is that enough to say, hey, he's leaving on a high note, take him out now? Who knows?
Yeah, and they're watching that pitch count, and you wonder how many more pitches in this inning eliminate him from the 7th inning.
And he can go back in that dugout too. I mean, he's had a good night. He got the base hit that started the rally to score some runs. So he might go, and we might see a little bit of that Matt Harvey circa 2015 that says, you know what, I want to stay in this game. Give me the ball. And that might be enough for Terry Collins to say, yes, I want more of that.
We'll see if he finishes with a good slider here. Well, he did. Good take. This is a pitch he started to have success with, especially in the last couple innings. Wanting to get the chase down and away. Good downward action, but it starts off the plate away. So Cervelli kind of recognized it right out of the hand as a ball.
And now missed up high with a breaking ball to walk Cervelli. That'll bring up Mercer, and that may finish off his opportunity of starting the next inning.
Yeah, that eliminated the 7th inning right there.
And that's going to get Dan Warthen on the phone. "95 pitches, 2 down in the 6th, the 6-1 lead. And Jerry Blevins, who seems to pitch almost every day, left-hander who's right at the top of the major league list in terms of appearances on the season, he's going to get up.
Well, the guy who threw 19 pitches in last night's game, a guy that they thought may not be available tonight, but probably hoping to get 1 inning out of him with Bruce, the switch hitter Walker, and the lefty Duda due up. Excuse me. That's his own team.
Got the pitcher spot due up
You
next.
would have a pinch hitter and
pinch hitter
then
and then Frazier. Yep.
Right.
Mercer 0 for 2, came in very hot. 12 for 24 in his last 6 games with 5 extra base hits, and now a meeting on the mound maybe to buy a little time for Blevins.
Dan, remember, it was his misses up in the zone that we saw earlier in the game. We talked about his arm slot, and when that gets away from his head, and that's when we're seeing the mistakes that we saw in the walk and early in this at bat to Mercer right now.
You think part of this message was, hey, one way or the other, Matt, this is your last bat? Is that a message a pitcher wants to hear? The empty the tank, this is your last batter, or is that a negative
no,
message?
I don't think. I think it was checking on him and then talking a little bit of strategy, or maybe just, hey, lock in this focus here, get right back in. You have the advantage here.
Guys, after the first pitch of this at bat, it looked like Travis d'Arnaud shot a glance into the dugout like he's gassed, and you wonder if that was also part of that visit to the mound. Hey, let's get him a breather.
John Jaso, last night's hitting hero for the Pirates, on deck to pinch hit in the pitcher spot. Fastball there, 2-2.
And that location of the fastball low away is this perfect location to set up that slider.
Yep.
It's been his best pitch tonight, especially from the 4th inning on.
And he shook him off to the curveball. Full count, and d'Arnaud now signaling to the infield, hey, Cervelli's going to be on the run. Duda backs off, plays behind the runner at first.
And now with a 5-run lead, if you're Matt Harvey, I think you just, knowing this is your last batter, you cut loose probably with this, your best fastball to the outer half, and see what he can do with it.
Did throw the fastball, but he missed up and in. It's fouled back, missed his spot, but protecting Mercer went after it and fouled it back.
And that's what we're seeing this entire inning, is he's missing up. Almost every fastball he's thrown except for one to Mercer in this at bat has been up in the zone.
There goes the runner, and the 3-2 is lined to right center field and caught. Jay Bruce into the gap to make the catch. Matt Harvey likes it. His night almost certainly done, and if it is, it ends on a high note thanks to a fine catch from his right fielder. Join host Chris Rose, Kevin Millar as they discuss the major news of the day from around baseball. Intentional Talk weekdays at 4 on ESPN2. Terry Collins, a little fatherly tap on the cheek there for Matt Harvey. A job well done by Harvey. 6 good innings for him tonight. Not the last out he needed to get out of the 6th, and that's a pretty good looking line. The Mets will take that.
Yeah, I mean, it's progress. It's a big deal. I mean, look, if this team's, as we talked about, the potential for them to be a playoff club, that guy's got to get really good. And it's been a struggle. He battled through and got a victory in his last start where he wasn't great, but got 5 innings. Now 6 this time. Much more in command. Another step forward for Matt Harvey.
DeGrom was great on Friday night. Harvey better tonight. Steven Matz pitched on rehab today. 5 perfect innings, I believe, with 8 strikeouts and a start at AAA. Seth Lugo going tonight on a rehab start at AA. Everything these days is a wait and see. You know, how do they feel tomorrow? When do they come back? How do they do at the major league level? But there are reasons for optimism in the last 48 hours or so in this Mets rotation.
Wheeler kept him in the game.
Yep.
Last night.
And Wheeler's been overall solid. And for as much as a mess as it's been these first couple of months, in a lot of ways, again, the potential is there if Harvey can somehow find it. If Syndergaard does come back in the next couple of months. And again, I love the upside of this offense, especially if Cespedes returns to form.
It's amazing how many teams who have done well in recent years struggled mightily at the outset this season. And can they get it together? Can the Mets make a run? Can the Pirates make a run? Are the Giants, they've won a couple in a row now, are they going to get better? The Blue Jays, until they lost today, playing better. Texas had a nice run, then they went on a losing streak, and they've got their work cut out for them. 10 back, but they're only a game under 500. There are a lot of teams with pretty good resumes the last few years got off to slow starts. And again, it's only Memorial Day tomorrow. Teams have like 115, 114 games left in the season. It may be too early to write off any of these teams.
Yep.
Well, especially now with the wild card. I mean, I just feel like there's some teams that, yeah, they have the division and there's going to be some good separation, but then there's so much clutter in the playoffs. I mean, the Mets proved it last year. I mean, they were not a playoff team for a good 2.5 months last year. And they showed by their perseverance that they could get there in that wild card game against the Giants.
Swing and a miss, and Bruce is retired for the first time tonight. Neil Walker will be the batter now. Single and scored a run back in the 4th. Had a couple of home runs on Friday. He's always hit well over the last couple of years since he's been a member of the Mets against his former team, the Pittsburgh Pirates. He said he's much more relaxed this year. Last year when he came in, and every player will tell you this, so it's got to be a thing. You can probably relate. You've got friends and family, and everybody wants tickets, and can we spend some time with you? We haven't seen you in so long. And it's a stressful thing for the first time to come back. And Walker's coming back not only to where he played, but also where he was born and raised. So a double dose of being the hometown boy. But he says he was more relaxed this year. The requests were down a little bit in year 2.
But he talked about those nerves the first time, and I think you saw it, him coming back obviously the second time this year, Friday night, the couple dingers. I mean, that's when it all just slows down. It's like, I'm going to enjoy this. This is fun.
I found it always fun to go play where you're from. So for me, you know, going to play in Southern California or to go and play in Philadelphia where I grew up for a part of my life, those were always exciting for me because there was nostalgia. There was the opportunity to see friends. What was weird for me was the first time I played against an ex-team.
Right.
That's what I felt a bit like a fish out of water. Some guys adjust well to it. Some guys it's a little bit different for. It was for me.
Did you nod at the pitcher like if he was an ex-teammate of yours? Did you guys have that moment?
Possibly. I didn't have any, you know, weirdness in that regard.
Yeah.
But my weird was just, I'll never forget playing against the Indians the first time when I went to Florida. It was so awkward because I knew all those guys so well, and you know you went through so much with them just a few months ago.
There's a pop-up for Harrison, 2 down. Well, while we have a moment, we had a chance to visit with him yesterday. Jamison Tyone, very talented young pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates, diagnosed a couple of weeks ago with testicular cancer. And within a couple of days from telling trainers, hey, something doesn't feel right, he had surgery, went on the DL, pitched a couple of times on the side, made her rehab start today for AA Altoona up in Erie, and 3 very strong innings. But first and foremost, just sending our best for a speedy and full recovery. We talked to Tyone yesterday. Looks great, feels great, really wants to become an advocate for early detection and awareness, and just sending our thoughts that everything that looks so good stays on that path for him.
Yeah, and another great step for him, getting out and having that successful start this afternoon, and just fortunate that it looks like he got to it really early. And you know, we've talked about Harvey tonight and his importance. Look, if the Pirates are going to make a run here, a lot is riding on Jamison Tyone and his continued development, you know, as what they believe is a front-end starting pitcher in this league.
Duda rips a ball to right center, and this one's getting out in a hurry. Second home run in as many games for Lucas Duda.
Well, another one of those New York Met hitters that is really starting to lock it in. And one thing he's doing so well since he's been swinging the bat is letting the ball get really deep and trusting his ability to still barrel up fastballs, but being in a better position to handle off-speed pitches. Little two-seam fastball, they want to get in. It drifts over the heart of the plate. And this ball is a no-doubter to right center. You see how short he is, and you see how deep he catches that ball, but is still able to drive it to right center with authority, ricocheting off poles out there in right center. But he had a conversation with Mike Trout last week at first base of all places, and you know, Trout talks about, I want to let the ball get as deep as possible and then just trust myself. And Duda is doing that really well, and he's pounded some breaking balls in this hot streak as well. That was a fastball. But it just allows you to get a long, when you're seeing the ball deep into the zone, it allows you to see the ball better, allows you to swing at better pitches. And with Lucas Duda, it's elite power. And when he's right, this is what he's capable of.
Last 6 games, Duda now has 7 extra base hits. 10 hits in all in 22 at bats, and 7 of the 10 for extra bases, 4 doubles, 3 homers. So some good signs on a number of levels for the Mets here tonight. Cabrera retired. That'll end the inning. 7th inning stretch in Pittsburgh. The Mets just stretching out that lead inning by inning. This time it's Lucas Duda with his 2nd home run in as many games. 7-1 Mets here at PNC Park. Monday Night Baseball from Pittsburgh. And the Pirates took an early lead, second inning home run for Gregory Polanco, his third of the season, to made it 1-0. But since then, it's been all Mets. Matt Harvey with a strong performance, 6 innings, 1 run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Progress for him, and a lot of help from his buddies. The Mets have swung the bats well tonight, including Lucas Duda with his 7th home run of the season and 2nd in as many games. 7 runs, 12 hits for the Mets, and a 7-1 lead. They just keep adding on, tacking on runs in 4 straight innings. And they lead 7-1 going to the bottom of the 7th. Another installment of Sunday from the Seats. Stan, Jess, Aaron, and we join you from the Clemente Wall here in Pittsburgh. Really cool spot to watch a ball game.
Oh my goodness. I mean, you got the river to your back, and honestly, I just feel like the weather, the entire environment, you have fans all around you just like cheering, going crazy.
We thought we were
awesome.
going to be dealing with thunderstorms.
Yep.
This has been about as good as it gets.
It has been.
And this is a great seat.
Yep. One more installment of Sunday from the Seats next week. Jess will be away covering the Women's College World Series, right?
Yes. Best
Who you got?
event.
Who you got?
Well, the teams are still playing. They're all still coming in, but I mean, I'm going Pac-12, right? I mean, you gotta pull a little bit for the conference, but Florida's #1, and all of you guys will be watching, by the way.
Absolutely.
I want your picks.
David Ross will be with us in Chicago next week. So, you know, that won't get anybody excited in the bleachers or anything.
Yeah, good luck with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare in the bleachers.
Need security for like 3 rows back.
Be like walking into the ballpark with the Beatles is what it'll be like.
Yeah. Paul Sewald who has really been a godsend for this team. You know, they weren't necessarily counting on him, but a bullpen that struggled. Sewald's been one of the few bright spots as John Jaso pinch hitting to face him. And Sewald will throw that fastball, low 90s, slider, an occasional changeup, but he's been a guy that's worked multiple innings at time for this team and really earned himself a more prominent role in that Mets bullpen.
And anybody who's going to get some outs for Terry Collins in that bullpen is going to get opportunities. And Jaso, who had a big night last night, RBI single in the 9th to tie it, RBI single in the 10th to win it. Bangs one into right field for a base hit here in the 7th. Speaking of the Cubs, it was their annual themed dress-up costume road trip, and they're going Anchorman.
Yes. Oh no.
Jeez. that Chris Bryant suit, I don't remember that Cubs suit in.
I don't think so.
We should do an Anchorman like dress up. We could totally.
We should go Anchorman from the seats next week.
Yes. Oh, it'd be too fun. I get to pick your costume.
Get
though.
Peter
I knew you were gonna say that.
Peter Pasquarelli dressed up.
Absolutely. Actually, I'd be happy to leave Peter alone if we can get Buster dressed.
Yes.
Give America what it wants. Right, Buster? You in?
I can't even imagine
I
what
Love
that
Lamp.
would be comprised of.
I love Lynn.
I love Lamp.
I love Lamp.
That'd be Buster.
Frazier slices one foul. Well, if the themed road trip was supposed to kind of relax the Cubs, they do this all the time. I mean, Joe Madden did it in Tampa Bay too, but hasn't been a great 2 months so far for the defending World Series champions. Just got swept by the Dodgers. Offense hasn't been as good as they had expected. Starting rotation has had some issues.
Although they got to Kershaw a little bit today.
Yeah. That Kershaw-Lester game didn't turn into that 1-0 game that you would think it would be.
Lester went 3+ and Kershaw went 4+, 4 1/3, and gave up 11 hits. Yep. That's the Dodgers, though. They're kind of quietly. Everyone's talking, you know, the teams you talk about, you know, obviously the Rockies and the Diamondbacks really out of the gates well and playing well in the West, but Dodgers quietly right there.
Double play on that sharply hit ball by Frazier. It was Reyes who's now at short. Matt Reynolds in the game at third, so that's 6-4-3 double play.
Well, we talked about Frazier's ability to handle the fastball. That ball's up in the zone and about the letters. He hits it sharply, and even though he gets down the line, he hits it too sharply. This turns into a tailor-made double play. Once Reyes secures it, he knows he's just got to get a good feed to Walker, who turns it over rather easily.
And here's Harrison to take a strike. Harrison 2 for 3 tonight, extending a hitting streak to 10 games. And Sewald gets it by him at 92, strikes him out, and that'll end the inning. 7 in the books in Pittsburgh, 7-1 for the New York Mets. Monday Night Baseball on ESPN is presented by Taco Bell's new Naked Chicken Chips. Welcome back to Pittsburgh. 7-1 Mets going top of the 8th. Couple of changes for the Pirates as we move to the 8th inning. John Jason will stay in the game in left field, and the new pitcher for the Pirates is right-hander Johnny Barbado.
On for the 12th time. That ERA in the mid-4s, 4 and 2-seam fastball, usually in the mid-90s with that. A slider and a curveball has been real effective against right-handed hitters. We'll get d'Arnaud and Lagares here to start this inning.
Travis d'Arnaud tonight 1 for 3, had a base hit through the right side his last time up.
Righties have hit just 103 against Barbado this season. Lefties have hit him well, but righties he's had his way with.
On the edge for a strike.
Said pinch hitter for Harvey. Reynolds, who entered the game, is in that 9 hole.
And Sewald, the pitcher, in the 6th spot in the order for the Mets right now. 7-1 the Mets lead. Won 8-1 on Friday night. Lost 5-4 in 10 innings to the Pirates last night. And Reynolds getting ready for his first at bat of the night. $21,828 in attendance here in Pittsburgh on a night that looked like this game might get rained out. All kinds of talk about bad weather, thunder and lightning, but none of it's materialized. May come later on tonight, they say, but so far so good.
Well, Matt Harvey, who we talked about taking a big step forward, I think the biggest at bat of the night was Mercer was second and third. He get it in there slider, then he gets the chase, and then Mercer shows the discipline to lay off that slider down and away. So Darno calls for the fastball on the outside corner, knowing that Mercer's discipline became, I've got to take the slider away, which starts in that same play. He dotted that fastball away, added all up 6 strong innings, and a big step forward for Matt Harvey.
When you look at the landscape of his season, you can make the argument that this was his best outing of the year tonight. A big step forward.
Juan Lagares 0 for 3. Good curveball on the corner, evens it up at a ball and a strike. Mentioned it briefly earlier, but again, Yoenis Cespedes had a bit of a setback yesterday, a quad situation. He's on the DL with a hamstring injury, but did not play yesterday in a rehab game because of a quad situation that has set him back a ways. Lagares gives it a ride, but McCutchen has room right in front of the fence for out number 2. With MLB.TV, watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. 2 down here in the top of the 8th inning. And Matt Reynolds gets his first at bat of the night. Mets scored 2 in the 4th, 3 more in the 5th, and added a single run in both the 6th and the 7th. Duda with a home run tonight. Bruce has 3 hits and a couple of RBIs. As Drupal Cabrera single, double, drove in a couple. Granderson a single, a double, scored a run, drove in a run. A lot of different contributors for the Mets offensively. Curveball again, 1-2. Amazing how many guys come out of bullpens throwing 95 these days.
Really is. I was thinking that the first pitch he threw this inning was 95 down and away, and I'm thinking, well, there's another.
You're thinking you're glad you're retired, is what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Granderson hoping for a shot this inning. Curveball stays high.
Well, if you're Reynolds here, it would seem to reason now. You got him. You got the count run to full by laying off a couple pitches. You're probably getting the heater here. Look, a Away with that heater.
Off the glove of Bell and into shallow right field. Would likely be a base hit for Reynolds.
Good at bat from Reynolds there again to get into that situation where you probably know you're netting yourself a heater, a bullet. Really tough chance for Bell on an in-between hop. All you can do is kind of go to the ground like he did and try and see that ball and create as long a hop as possible. Unable to do it, and I think rightly scored a hit.
So back to the top of the order now for Granderson. 2 for 4. Single, double, RBI. Thirteen hits now for the Mets in this game as they lead 7-1. Called strike 2, says Jeff Nelson.
See where Cervelli's set up inside, and I'm surprised this does get called because you see where he catches it, makes it look like a ball even though the K-zone picks it up.
Ball now.
Pretty good execution there. He wanted that ball up and in, got it. Perhaps just a tick up.
Fouls off the curveball to stay alive.
That's the pitch he struck out on his first at bat against Glasnow. It's been the fastball up in the zone that he seems to be hunting. Something middle away over the plate. I'm curious if they go back to the curveball.
They do. Popped up by Granderson, but out of play off to the left.
Barbado frustrated as he caught that ball back because he wanted it down in the zone to almost spike it like he did the one prior, but with a little bit more depth. He kind of got lucky. That one hung a little bit more than I think he wanted it to.
Granderson just looks like a different hitter right now than when he was struggling early. You can tell he's seeing the ball really good. You can tell he's comfortable. With 2 strikes here, he hasn't really worried. He feels like he has both the fastball and the breaking ball timed up. And as he extends this at bat, if he can get a mistake, he's in position to do some damage.
And he does as he lines one into right center for a base hit. Around to third on the plate comes Reynolds. Really good night for Granderson, now 3 for 5.
I mean, that's a case of Granderson. Even though he fell behind 1 and 2, he took the pitches he wanted to. He knew he could spoil. He got enough mistakes. It looks like just a nothing slider that hangs up. But he's in position to handle a lot of different pitches. And fortunately for Barbado, that pitch is hit on a line and only a single because he is in a powerful position there. So you look, his first 3-hit game of the season, now 3 for 5.
And isn't that really his career, guys? I mean, there have been times when he's really struggled for an extended period of time. He's had rough years. He's come back. He's had some big years, been red hot in the postseason. And you got to believe that's what Terry Collins was thinking early on as he was putting him out there and he's going through those hitless days. He knows that this type of Curtis Granderson at bats, they're in there someplace.
And again, it remains to be seen when Cespedes comes back, how that changes things in the outfield, if Conforto stays as hot as he's been.
Conforto with the bat in his hand.
Look, I think if Granderson remains hot, I think there's enough at bats to find him, whether it's 3-4 times a week where you can spell Bruce on a day, you can spell Cespedes, you can spell Duda, and all of a sudden you add it up and everyone's still getting a ton of at-bats.
Well, of all the problems Terry Collins has had to deal with this year, he wouldn't mind dealing with that problem.
Absolutely.
If he had, 5 guys hitting the ball well, trying to jockey for 4 spots. Jay Bruce has proven the ability. He can play some first base if they want to give, as you talked about, Aaron, give Duda a day off here and there. 1-1 on Jose Reyes, who's 1 for 4.
And 5 guys for 4 spots is, you're not worried about guys not getting enough playing time. And then you can sprinkle Lagares in there, especially in late inning situations when you are able to grab a lead.
Been working over that gum all night long. Mets have kept adding on, have made it a little more comfortable. Very few leads have been comfortable for the Mets this year with some of the issues they've had in the bullpen. Reyes with a high fly ball to right center. Polanco is there. That's the inning. A couple of men left on. We'll go bottom 8. Pirates coming up, down 7-1. Brian Clausen was considered one of the nation's top dirt track drivers until he lost his life in a crash in a USAC race last year. 8 months after his death, his family meets the recipient of his donated heart, a 64-year-old Army War veteran. Clausen's family, in addition, they started an organ donor campaign. Thousands of people signed up. So from a terrible tragedy comes an inspiring story. You can see it on SportsCenter at night with Bucci and Anderson. Coming up after the ball game tonight, a full breakdown of the Indy 500, day 1 of the French Open, the best from Major League Baseball, a preview of the Stanley Cup final, and the story we just mentioned about Brian Clausen. SportsCenter at night is next. Bottom 8 in Pittsburgh, 7-1 Mets, and Josh Bell skies one into left field for out number 1. Let's go to Buster now. Buster, if the Pirates, now you've picked the Pirates as a team that really could make some noise and get back into it. If they're not into it in July, I want to ask you specifically about Garrett Cole, the name we haven't mentioned tonight, their number 1 guy. Knocked around his last 2 starts, but a proven number 1 guy in his career in baseball. Do you think there's a chance the Pirates move Garrett Cole at the deadline this year if they don't get back into a race?
I think they will be asked by other teams about Garrett Cole, and I think because the Pirates are a small market team and they will listen to other teams when they throw things out there, there will be conversations, and the only chance that he would be moved would be if they were completely overwhelmed. And he would certainly be a guy.
Reyes' throw is high, so Polanco's safe.
And he would certainly be a guy who's going to draw a lot of the attention from teams like Houston, like the Yankees, because he's controllable beyond this year. He's a free agent after 2019, and so he's going to draw a lot of interest. I think Tony Watson, their closer, is going to draw a lot of interest. And let's face it, we saw the Pirates last year take a similar track where they felt like they were in contention, but they also needed to adjust to the reality of the situation. They traded Mark Melancon to the Washington Nationals and picked up a reliever in return, and I think that they'll listen on Andrew McCutchen.
I think the price tag would be high on a guy like Garrett Cole, but I think there are a number of teams that would pay that high price tag. Not only what you get in a difference maker, top of the rotation type guy this year, but as Buster said, the control ability that you have with him, I think makes him appealing to so many different teams.
The price has definitely been set high. I feel
doubt.
like with the trades that we've seen and the fact that there are very little to no starting pitchers available this offseason, this past offseason. So the trade market is where it's at, but you're going to have to give up big.
And guys, I think that if they're right in the thick of the race, then I don't think they would trade him. But if they're kind of on the fringe they were last year, then I think they would at least listen on Garrett Cole.
Jeff Nelson called a balk on that play.
Yeah, I don't think Sewald ever came to a stop. And it might have been even something that David Freese pointed out, because sometimes as a hitter, you notice it even more so than when you're the base runner, because it almost feels like a bit of a quick pitch. Is guess what, guys?
Yep.
We're getting rained on.
Sunday from the seats is now Sunday in the rain from the seats.
Can I go under the table? I can still see if I go under here.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh,
It's coming, Mike.
It's coming down.
Run! Oh, this is
really funny. Sort of.
That's one word for it. So decisions have been made, and guess what?
It's only moisture.
It's only moisture. It's not going to do any damage to my hair like it will for you two guys.
Yep.
So I think you guys get to go first.
Can I wear a paper hat?
You can do whatever you want, Jess.
Oh,
Wait. So if we just started running right now?
Yeah, you can go. Yeah, you can go. Yeah, do your thing. Put your phones away. Do what you got to do. I'll meet you in the booth.
Jess,
I want to wear.
beat it.
Go, Jess.
No, I'm good. I got a
You're
glove
good?
hat.
We won't make fun of you if you leave first.
That's an excellent call.
It's working.
I'm good.
Dan's good. Just slips
Come on.
right off.
Just slides right off.
That's right.
Wipe it on.
Yeah.
I got
It's like it never happened. Like it never happened.
Where are you going?
Fans are
You
leaving.
can't leave us. Come on. Really?
Raining
Oh.
harder.
Oh, I got a fan throwing me a poncho. I love you.
Freeze drives the ball right center. Going to be off the wall. And that'll get a run home on the RBI double to make it 7-2.
And looked like a fastball up here, and David Freese, who we've seen drive the ball so much over the course of his career the other way, where he's strongest, gets a high fastball and drills it to center field. As Jeff Nelson is talking with the grounds crew about making a possible decision to bring out that tarp, but looks like they're going to stick with this for now.
Buster, how you making out?
Trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure all this out. Cover the equipment, take care of the electronics, right?
Yep.
Be in position in case Booney and Jess run for the booth.
You know, Buster, I expect a little more out of you.
I was going to say, they don't make field reporters
you
like
act
they
like
used
it's
to.
a hurricane going on down there. For
Yeah,
crying out loud.
that's nice. This is what, your first time actually out in the elements in 2 years of working together, right?
Yeah.
For 2 years, I've been out in the rain, the cold, everything. Have you ever sent down a poncho?
But
No.
I own my softness when it comes to weather. You talk yourself up as this just, you know, it can't be cold enough.
I can't talk.
I'm kind of hoping it rains really hard on you right now. Boone.
Just on him, though, not on
Yeah,
me. I'm on your side, Buster.
Thank you.
I'm good. I'm good.
Fly ball to the track and right. Off the bat of McCutchen. Freeze will take third. Now 2 down. All right, guys. Now I'm telling you to go.
Why?
We go. Because at some point I got to go. So you guys got to be there
Jess,
when I go.
you go first.
You go.
Dan needs an analyst here. He tried out his analyst chops last night on radio.
With Shambi.
With Shambi.
Yeah.
They went
It's getting a little lighter.
double play-by-play man on the radio.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Got my Kate.
Jeff Nelson talked to the groundskeeper. They didn't pull the tarp because they know it was letting up a bit.
You have a glove on your head.
It actually has made a huge difference. Really has.
I will tell you, there is an army of groundskeepers waiting.
How would
bring
you
the
know?
tarp on the field?
How would you know under your tent down there? Buster looks like he's camping over there.
I'm just trying to protect the equipment.
He's taking care of some very expensive equipment.
Exactly. Come on.
All right. Good
See,
looking.
this is what we
good
deal
looking
with
out.
every week out here. Protect the equipment.
Oh.
Not even close, Jess.
No, your
Not even
ballpark,
close.
Jess.
Yeah.
Jess, lock it back in.
Well, you have a glove on your head, so I felt a little bit responsibility to protect both of you, being that I'm the only one that has a regular glove in position.
It's letting up.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm gonna remove the hat.
Little high, 2 balls and 2 strikes on Cervelli. 7-2, the Mets lead here in the bottom of the 8th. Got him. Ran it back over the outside corner to end the inning. Pirates get 1. Still 7-2 at the end of 8, dealing with the elements.
Hanging in here. We're a team.
Back to PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Sunday from the seats here on Sunday Night Baseball from atop the Clemente wall down the right field line. Rain shower, nothing serious, came and went. More is on the way though. Jay Bruce leads off the ninth. Johnny Barbado back on the mound for the Pirates. And Bruce hits it hard, dug out by Harrison for out number one. Let's go back to Buster, and Buster loves weather almost as much as Buster loves baseball. Buster, what are you hearing?
Yeah, it's a dairy farmer in me. What I'm hearing is that was just a pop-up shower. Okay, and the next real showers will start at least in about 20 minutes.
So more rain, but we got 20 minutes at least.
You got about 20 minutes.
All right.
Work fast, throw hard.
You know what's remarkable is we've been following the weather all week because this threat of rain, and then following it, of course, all day. But the fact that was the first bit of rain we got.
Because yesterday, all of our apps said there was no shot of playing this game.
Yeah.
Like it was starting in the afternoon and roaring all through the night.
Yeah.
Neil Walker 1 for 4.
They didn't want to mess with our Sunday from the seats. Clemente wall.
I'm glad we stayed because it was so like, let's just stay inside. We won't have to worry about it. We're like, no, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
This is right underneath us.
That's where everyone went.
Yeah.
They all left us.
Those are the smarter people.
Yeah. Like, I want to come here and watch a game for real and sit up here.
All right.
Have a cold beer.
Well, next time we're here, Saturday.
Yeah.
We just arranged it. You got a guy?
He's always got it.
He's got a guy.
Anyone listening?
How about a "Let's Go Mets" chant here in Pittsburgh? Pirates will return the favor and head to Citi Field for a weekend series next weekend. Strange when you're in different divisions and you might only meet twice, and you do it on back-to-back weekends.
Guys, I'm thinking next time we get into a weather situation, I'm going to have to reach out to probably the best weather person in baseball, and that would be Mike Trout, who obsesses about the weather. All of his teammates go to him and ask him about weather circumstances.
Not much to obsess about in Anaheim.
Another liner to Harrison, 2 down.
Lucas Duda's last at bat crushed a ball. I mean, it must have gotten out of here before he was even a few feet out of the box. And for a guy that's been swinging the bat so well, I mean, that ball cleared fast, but 116.3 was the exit velocity, which is the hardest of his career.
That's way up there, right? That's way up there for the hardest hit balls in baseball this year.
That's up in that, like, Giancarlo, Judge.
That's Judge
Gallo.
Stanton, yeah. Curveball drops in for strike 2.
And there's just a looseness too with his entire approach that you can just tell when guys are feeling it. And for him, it's always been that high leg kick when he gets it down, because he is so strong.
Duda retired, and we'll go to the bottom of the ninth here in Pittsburgh. Last chance for the Pirates, coming up down 7-2. Studa with a home run tonight, helping the Mets to a 7-2 lead as we go to the bottom of the ninth.
Well, we mentioned he had a career high exit velocity. I mean, look at this, 116.3. That's the most he's ever had. And when you look at the launch angle of 19.5, usually you see the home run swings are 25 to 32 degrees. I mean, it was a line drive swing. He crushed it. But he's feeling it really good, and you can tell by how hard he hit that ball.
Jay Bruce has had a very good night as well. Bruce with 3 hits, including a couple of doubles, a couple of RBIs.
And a big defensive play to squash a rally with 2 outs.
Here's Neil Ramirez to come in to work the bottom of the ninth for the Mets.
Ramirez, who has struggled, as you can tell by that ERA north of 10, but the one thing you look at is the strikeout to walk ratio in the innings pitched. So the stuff is there. Fastball, slider, curveball, occasional changeup.
Started the year with the Giants, was designated for assignment by them, claimed off waivers by the Blue Jays, and then was designated for assignment by the Blue Jays without appearing in a game, and then was picked up by the Mets. So already his 3rd team here this season. Backs Jordy Mercer off the plate.
A couple of good sliders, and then just, I don't even think that's by intent. He just misses bad with that. Probably, though, to go right back to some kind of breaking ball.
No swing.
Definitely a close pitch on the corner that was called a ball, and clearly Mercer did hold up there.
Rain drove away some of the fans here, but the Pirates also down by 5, bottom 9, as Buster told us. Another wave of rain, another cell is coming at some point fairly soon as they try to get it in before that happens.
Ball no.
Ball no, says Jeff Nelson. A little bit of high, and it's a full count. Mercer, Jaso, and then the pitcher spot for the Pirates. 8, 9, and 1. Pitcher in the 1 spot right now for Pittsburgh. Triple header tomorrow on ESPN on the Memorial Day holiday, beginning with the Yankees and Orioles at 1 o'clock Eastern time. It's Jordan Montgomery and Dylan Bundy scheduled to pitch. Orioles in tough times right now. And he lost him. Got out in front, couldn't finish him off, and he walked him.
Well, and Terry Collins, desperate to rest some of his key guys in the bullpen, doesn't want to have to use Blevins as he's up now, doesn't want to have to use Reed, who's thrown a number of pitches over in 2 outings in the last 3 days. He would love to have Ramirez be able to get through this on his own. A leadoff walk up 5 runs is about the last thing you want to see.
John Jaso, the batter, had a base hit back in the 7th and is only at bat of the night. Came on as a pinch hitter then. We mentioned the great night he had last night. RBI single in the 9th to tie it. RBI single in the 10th to win it. Becoming the first player since Justin Smoke of the Blue Jays last year to do that. Tie a game in the 9th, win a game in the 10th.
And a bullet in his only appearance after entering earlier in the ball game, a rocket single.
One of the more unusual batting stances in baseball. Starts with that right foot way back and then brings it up almost even with the left as the pitch comes to the plate.
And he's got a little bit of a split grip too, which you don't see a lot of. especially from guys who want to hit for
I
power.
I did not realize that about Jaso.
So what that does is it allows you to control the barrel a lot better and really put more of an emphasis on that top hand, which is a great thing for like an Adam Frazier, a guy that's a base hit, put it where you want it. But for Jaso, it's interesting. Obviously working these last couple days.
Oh, Mets, Pirates, couple there that obviously got married just this year, together since 2017. I tell you, our director Jeff Evers, he is such a sentimental softie sometimes.
Yeah, he is.
Oh.
Swing and a miss to get him, one down.
Well, a lot of sliders, but he goes with the curveball to put him away, and it's probably his best pitch since coming on. That is a real nice north and south angle on that he starts up around the belt. Understandable that Jaso would go after that, but that just dives and bites down and out of the zone. And a big first out for Ramirez.
Jose Osuna will come up as a pinch hitter in the pitcher spot. Osuna, an outfielder, has started 16 games for the Pirates, 15 in the outfield, 1 at first base. Big swing and a miss, 0-1. The story for the Mets tonight, if you're just picking out one thing, it's the performance of Matt Harvey. He had 6 strong innings, allowed a run on 6 hits, walked 2, struck out 4, in line for the win. Significant progress from his last 4 or 5 starts.
And even though he had a lot of misses and he didn't have his best stuff, I mean, he was able to kind of find a ways to still get the swing and miss when he needed to. And just show a little bit of that swag that really I haven't seen from him. Just a little bit. And you saw it even with his base hit. He gets on first and he's feeling good, and that carries over. And that's huge for Matt Harvey.
2-2. Ramirez trying to finish it off. Harvey went 6, Sewald went 2, and now Ramirez here in the 9th with Blevins ready if needed in the bullpen. Full count. And he walked another one. The second walk given up by Ramirez. And Terry Collins probably doesn't want to have to go to Blevins with all the appearances that he's made, but does he feel he needs to? Well, looks like Ramirez will get a visit from his pitching coach and maybe a chance to stay in this game. Sports Center is coming your way next here on ESPN immediately following the conclusion of this game. Triple header tomorrow, beginning with the Yankees and Orioles at 1 o'clock. Triple header tomorrow, double header Tuesday night, single game Wednesday night on ESPN. Lots of baseball coming your way.
Well, Ramirez probably at best has 2 more hitters, Harrison and then the switch hitting Bell. I'm sure they'd probably at least like to save Blevins for Polanco should it get there, but you could see him as early, especially if Ramirez were to walk another hitter. You might see him for
Bell, right? Yeah, because he is a switch hitter. And not only is he missing, he's missing by a foot up, a foot and a half off.
Yep.
Very few wins for the Mets this year have been of the relaxing variety. Friday night was one of them when they won 8-1. In there with a breaking ball, 1-1. Josh Harrison 2 for 4 on the night. Went after a high breaking ball and he fouled it back. It has really cooled off significantly here in the ballpark since we had that 5 or 10 minute rain shower a little bit earlier. Curveball lifted in the air to right field for out number 2. So Ramirez will stay. They're 1 out away from finishing off a win, finishing off the Pirates here in PNC Park as we get to say hello and soon goodbye, it would appear, from our vantage point atop the Clemente wall. Yeah,
it's been a fun night.
It has been cool. Yeah,
this was neat.
Yeah. We'll be in the seats in the bleachers at Wrigley Field next week, our 3rd and final installment of Sunday in the Seats. Have you checked out your weather app? You're a long-range weather guy. What do you got for next week?
I've not gone there yet, man.
Our producer Andy's on that right now. He likes to know these things. Andy likes to dot his I's and cross his T's. Foul. Andy just said uh-oh in my headset. What does that mean? It's 7 days away, Andy. Josh Bell, the batter. Last chance for the Pirates. 7-2. The Mets lead, bottom 9. Mercer at second and Osuna at first. And it's outside, a ball and a strike. It will be the Cardinals taking on the Cubs next week at Wrigley. And the Mets now a strike away. Well, if you come to Pittsburgh, if you're from out of town, you're a Mets fan, you come to Pittsburgh and you get to see your team win 2 out of 3, you got to be pretty happy with how things have gone over the weekend. And they've done it. They take 2 out of 3 as they beat the Pirates 7-2. Ramirez finishes it off. Nice outing for Matt Harvey. Jay Bruce with a big night. 3 hits, including a couple of doubles. Lucas Duda with another home run, his second in as many games. And the Mets beat the Pirates 7-2. Don't forget, a Memorial Day tripleheader comes your way beginning at 1 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow here on ESPN. For Aaron Boone, Jessica Mendoza, Buster Olney, and our Sunday night crew, I'm Dan Shulman saying thanks for watching and so long from the seats here at PNC Park.